Post-apocalypse. Beginning by hoarding 10 billion supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 251. After leaving the hotel, Myun began to wander around the base. He wanted to verify whether the information that Araya told him was true. The encounter with Araya last night can be said to be a coincidence. Originally he was just going to go to the bar to find out the basic situation in the base. Who had thought that the other party would take the initiative to send it to the door? Although Araya changed her appearance, the pride on her chest could not deceive Myun's vicious eyes. With just a little probing of spiritual perception, Myun recognized her true identity. Judging by the situation in the minaret conference room, Araya's situation is very worrying. Otherwise, he would not choose to sell his hue and arouse Steven's desire in exchange for space to survive. After a long conversation all night last night, she and Myun reached some kind of cooperative relationship. Araya was originally a PhD in biogenetics from Umbrella Corporation, specializing in this topic. After the end of the world, for various reasons, the Umbrella Company obtained a key fruit and discovered the secret of the gene lock. Soon, they had their first experiment. In order to grasp more complete experimental data, Araya became the first experimental subject. Araya, who ate the key fruit, used her genetic knowledge to compile a fairly detailed picture of the reaction and subsequent changes brought about by the key fruit. With this information, Umbrella has made a major breakthrough in the study of human genes. And this major breakthrough led to another thing, a genetic collapse. In order to explore new areas, the Umbrella Company decided to forcibly open the remaining 5 gene locks in Araya's body through human intervention. The result naturally ended in failure. The first experiment lacked a lot of data as a reference, and many preparations were inadequate, causing Araya's gene lock to fall into a state of rage, frantically devouring everything around it like a high-speed machine. In the first few days, the Umbrella Company suffered heavy casualties, a large number of researchers and various advanced equipment. Subsequently, Araya went on a killing spree inside the base, causing great chaos. The Umbrella Company continued to send high-level superpowers to suppress it, barely containing Araya's ferocity. The laboratory was destroyed, and the genes in Araya's body also collapsed. Originally, he was still a 4th order superpower, but now he has directly become an ordinary person. It is necessary to rely on some kind of inhibitor to maintain the stability of the gene strand. The laboratory was destroyed, and she was transferred to this base. In order to avoid another situation where Araya ran away, a miniature bomb was placed in her body. Originally, it was nothing, although the experiment failed, but Araya, as the only experimental subject, still has a use for the Umbrella Company and will not give her up easily. But Anne's appearance shattered Araya's hopes. Now that she has a more perfect subject, her existence becomes dispensable, and she must find another way. Seducing Steven is also a makeshift decision she makes, so that she can have the possibility of living. It doesn't matter if it's successful or not. As long as there is a glimmer of life, Araya is willing to try. Myun's appearance made her see another way out. Even if the other party plotted against the base map, so what? She almost died for the Umbrella Company, but became an outcast of the company. Now whoever can let her live, she listens to whomever it is. Myun did not disappoint her, and the miniature bomb in her body was easily taken out by him. In exchange, Araya revealed all the secrets in the base. Now, she has become a dark chess piece for Myun and the Umbrella Company. In order not to reveal that Araya has escaped from controlling the company's secret at the moment, the miniature bomb still remains in her body. Just a little bit of manipulation on the bomb. As long as Araya wants, she can take it out anytime, anywhere. After Myun left, Araya quietly returned to the minaret and began to implement the plan set last night. The core of the base. Through the identity card given by Araya, Myun changed his face and came to the underground secret place unimpeded. After passing through several code doors, Myun entered the darkest area of the base. It seems that the woman did not lie to me. Myun looked at the surrounding environment, confirmed the direction, and walked straight towards the target location. Hey, Yuri, where did you go last night? I said I would go to the bar to relax, but why didn't I see you after I arrived? A white man in white overalls suddenly came over to pick up a conversation. Don't mention it, I was pulled to work overtime by the boss last night, which exhausted me. Haha, yes, no wonder your eyes are a little dark. I remember today is Saturday. Don't ask, you don't know what kind of person the boss is. Okay, then I'll go and get busy, and I'll make an appointment another day. After dealing with this person, Myung continued to walk towards his destination. His current identity is Yuri in the man's mouth. As for Yuri himself, last night had become dinner in Eria's mouth. It was the after effects of genetic collapse, and she was now desperate for blood, and even regular injections of inhibitors could not eliminate the bloodthirst in her body. 10 minutes later, Myung came to the underground warehouse area. Click. With the opening of the floodgate, Myung found all kinds of metal materials that the Dragon Court urgently needed now. In the huge space, large and small pieces of metal are placed. Most of them are ordinary metals such as steel, silver, and gold, and a small number are similar high-density alloy materials. Huh, Yuri, aren't you in charge of the food area next door? Why did you come to me? At this moment, 2 staff members came over and looked at Myung suspiciously. Oh, Professor Kane lacks some special metals there. I just happened to stop by and help him move it. Myung explained indiscriminately. So that's it. Come with me. Led by 2 staff members, Myung came to a storage room. There is a rule on it, not that the current regional head does not allow entry. What materials are needed, I'll pick them up for you. Just as Myung was about to enter with him, the 2 stopped him. It seems that the real good things are here, I remember. After Myung reported several special metals at random, after a while, 2 staff members walked out holding a black box. Yes, it's all here, but the radioactivity is relatively strong. Don't open the isolation box. Don't worry, I measured. Myung took the box and turned to look at the 2 staff members. Thank you. With that, Myung took the box and turned to leave. Yuri is a little strange today. This guy actually said thank you. Regardless of him, it is estimated that he tasted the beating of society, and this converged his temperament. After confirming the address here, Myung did not leave in a hurry. After that, he went to the planting area and the breeding area. It has to be said that the strength of the Umbrella Company is very strong. Many rare plants and animals have been preserved, and he even saw 2 rounded ends. With these animals and plants, it won't be long before the ecological chain of his small world will be completely perfected. No wonder the old people often say that people are rich and horses are not fat and without night grass. This sentence is simply apt. Myung shook his head and sighed, and then came to the food area that Yuri was responsible for. But as soon as he came in, his brows furrowed quietly. Chapter 252. Originally, Myung thought that this ingredient area meant slaughterhouse, but the scene that caught sight stunned him. In the huge room, thousands of crosses were erected. On the cross was a naked living man. They have a large number of wires attached to their heads, and the display instrument next to them feeds the person's data on the screen through the wires. And they have all kinds of collars around their necks, a bit like dog tags. Each person has a corresponding number. These people have a tube inserted into their abdomen, which seems to be used to instill nutrient solution to keep them alive. At this moment, a large number of butchers sharpened their knives and cut at the bodies of these so-called pig people. The strong smell of blood permeated the entire space and was disgusting. Myung's face was ugly. He could already predict what the meat on these pigs would be used for. These pigmen are like lambs waiting to be slaughtered. There was no expression on their faces, and their eyes were empty and blank. Even the sharp pig killing knife cuts the muscles off their thighs, and there is no response to this. When thousands of pigmen were cut off large pieces of meat, a white man dressed in a priest's robe with a kind face walked in. Looking at the priest's grey-haired appearance, he seemed to be in his early 60s. I saw him holding a Bible and his lips slightly open. Great Lord, please give these wretched people a new lease of life and praise your mercy. After saying this, the priest wrapped his hands around the void. A holy light descended from the sky, shrouded those pig people, and quickly spread throughout the body. In just a moment, these pig people, who were covered in injuries and blood, began to recover quickly from their injuries. The lost pieces of flesh on the thighs grow at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the skin becomes smooth and supple. Groove. This is specifically a bug in the jam. Mu-Yun's heart seemed to have received a 10,000 point critical blow, and he couldn't calm down for a long time. It turns out that the healing system can still be used like this. Looking at the scene in front of him, Mu-Yun couldn't help but complain. This was followed by another round of harvesting, and the priest performed another miracle. These pig people are like leeks being cut, cutting one stubble and another. It wasn't until the monitor next to it issued a warning that the staff put down the butcher knife in their hands and began to infuse the pig man with a black nutrient solution. Occasionally, 2 people who died directly due to excessive bleeding were directly dragged away and dug out the supernatural crystal nucleus in their heads. That's right, these pig people are superpowers. Moreover, they are all flesh strengthened powers, but the general level is very low. The digged up energy crystal nucleus was taken away by a special person, and when the new pig man was sent, the crystal nucleus was re-injected into its body through the special method developed by the Umbrella Company. This wave of operations of the Umbrella Company is really to make the best use of the material to the fullest. According to their approach, a small amount of inferior nutrient solution can produce a large amount of food. As for the consumed spiritual energy, the air was everywhere, and the priest could recover after going back to sleep. Wonderful, it's amazing. Just as Mu-Yun was talking to himself, several staff members suddenly ran forward. Team leader Yuri, today's pig meat has been harvested. Do you see any other instructions? It's gone. Let's go. Mu-Yun waved his hand, his gaze still resting on those pig people just now. Cannibalism is common in the last days, and even in China, some survivors kill each other because they can't bear the hunger. The ugliness of end-time human nature is magnified to the limit, and anything can be done for the sake of one bite. But the darkness here is far deeper than Mu-Yun imagined. Eri told him that this was just the tip of the iceberg for the Umbrella Company. In some parts of the world, there are even more inhumane experiments going on than this. In this minaret base alone, in addition to the food area, the experimental area under the minaret, there are several laboratories that are studying the genetic fusion between humans and alien beasts, mutated animals and plants, and green slaves. There has even been a baby born after the fusion of humans and mutant beasts. These crazy scientists have completely abandoned the bottom line of human nature. Thinking of this, Mu-Yun couldn't help saying. Returning to the ground, Mu-Yun looked at the dim sky and felt a lot of emotion in his heart. But soon, he sorted out his mind and began to plan for the next step. Now that the storage location of the materials has been confirmed, you can just take a hand when you go back and walk by yourself. Next is the news about the key fruit, about which Eri has gone to contact Anne first. But there was one point that made Mu-Yun feel puzzled. In the last holy war in the previous life, the Americans also participated. After all, it was a battle related to the life and death of all mankind. But if so, the Umbrella Company will surely survive to the end. Now they have learned the news of the key fruit, and they also have a preliminary understanding of the research of the 6 gene locks. Then why didn't anyone announce this news in the previous life, but let everyone get stuck in the King realm and couldn't break through? Could it be that the Umbrella died by itself and did not live to the end? No, their secret bases are all over the world. There is no reason to finish them all. Or is it because my appearance caused the world line to change? In fact, the Umbrella Company in the previous life did not discover the secret of gene lock at all. Mu-Yun felt that he guessed 8 or 9 and 10. The key fruit he now has in his hand is the key. Without the information contained in it, even the Umbrella Company cannot understand the mystery. But it doesn't matter anymore. When Mu-Yun came back to his senses, he had already arrived near the residential building in the core area. Expand the field and discover that Steven and Araya have appeared at Anna's house. The content of the conversation will not be detailed, as long as you know the final result. When Annie's family passed by a town called Maple Leaf, they accidentally got a red fruit. Originally, I was afraid that the fruit would be poisonous, so I kept it in my backpack, but one night I was accidentally found by little Anne, and she ate it directly because she was too hungry. After that, I had a fever, like a fever. My body was hot, and I couldn't help many doctors, but after 2 days, the disease miraculously improved. After recovering from the illness, they didn't care, and then came to this base. After getting the answer they wanted, Steven and Era left the apartment building, and immediately sent their men to Maple Leaf Town, to investigate the information of Keyfruit. Myung naturally also knew about this. He cared more about the news of the Keyfruit than the materials. So before the umbrella company set off, he had already left for Maple Leaf Town. Chapter 253. Myung followed behind it, and quickly caught up. Babbling, the elemental spirit excitedly waved her little short legs, and came to the stone platform where she was born. Myung followed closely, and stood next to the stone platform. Click click came the sound of stones shattering. I saw that there was a passage hidden under the stone platform. The little one got in first. As the passage opened, the clear water in the cold pool suddenly turned into a whirlpool, and poured into it. It didn't take long for the entire cold pool to be emptied. What a strong psionic energy fluctuation. Myung walked into the passage, his eyes full of surprise. He vaguely guessed something. Down the passage, after a while, Myung's eyes suddenly brightened. I saw an even bigger cave appear in front of him. The top of the cave is inlaid with a large amount of blue glowing ore, illuminating the entire cave. Babbling, the little guy cheered, and ran to the depths of the cave, constantly bouncing, and looked particularly excited. The cave is sloping, and the spring water flowing down from above flows down, and towards the deeper point. There is actually a spirit crystal here. Myung looked at a strange, ore-emitting blue light under his feet in surprise. Spirit crystals contain powerful spiritual energy, and are important materials for the breakthrough of late-stage supernatural beings. The number of green slaves and mutant beasts will become rarer in the future as humans become stronger. In other words, the difficulty of obtaining will increase by tens or hundreds of times, and in the end, only some high-level ones will survive. After all, they cannot reproduce, but can only strengthen the race by transforming humans. Over time, this kind of spiritual energy crystal nucleus like spirit crystal stone will completely replace the crystal nucleus and become the mainstream cultivation material. If some veins are abundant with spiritual energy, they will gradually form unique spars if they are affected for a long time. For example, fire spirit stones may appear near volcanoes, and jade veins in the ground may be transformed into spirit crystal veins. These special spars are far harder than ordinary steel, making them an excellent material for weapons and bases. And because the characteristics of the spar are different, the final forged weapon effect is also different. No wonder elemental spirits can be bred here. It turns out that there is a spirit crystal vein. Myung couldn't help but get excited. After he unfolded his spiritual power, he found that the scale of this vein was quite large, and because of the domain, Myung's spiritual power covered an area of tens of thousands of meters. But even so, it is impossible to fully probe how big this spirit crystal vein really is. This made Myung feel excited and a little surprised at the same time. It stands to reason that a vein of this magnitude is by no means a product that can be bred in the early apocalypse. In the last life, the first time humans discovered spirit crystals was in the 3rd year of the beginning of the end times. That year, all the forces fought fiercely to seize the resources of the ore, but at that time, Myung was slumped because of Coco's death and did not pay much attention to the news in this regard. But he knew that in that battle, countries had suffered heavy losses. It was not until the emergence of the red tide that overwhelmed countries that the war stopped. Click, click. The little guy held the spirit crystal on the ground and nibbled it, and the crisp sound interrupted Myung's musings. Hi, why do you want to think so much? Anyway, it's a good thing for me. Now Myung announced, this vein belongs to the Dragon Court. Who agrees? Who is against? Babble? The little guy raised his head and looked at Myung with blinking eyes, as if to say, here is half of her. Well, Myung naturally ignored it, and seeing that no one objected, Myung nodded in satisfaction. I originally came to look for the key fruit, but I actually harvested an elemental spirit and a spirit crystal vein of this scale. What a burst of luck. Myung picked up the little guy and felt very proud. It seems that Guanai was right. I'm indeed the chosen one. What do you say, little one? The little guy looked at Mu-Yun blankly, holding his head with two small paws, looking like he was thinking. Hey, how do you know that? Mu-Yun laughed at himself. By the way, you don't have a name yet, do you? How about calling you Leap Soil later? You see that when water and soil are combined, isn't it Leap Soil? The little guy had a disgusted expression on his face, as if to say, your name is so low. Don't like it? Mu-Yun raised his eyebrows. Babble. The little one nodded seriously. HMM. Mu-Yun rolled his eyes. What about the little ingot? Cluck. The little one suddenly laughed. For the name Yuanbao, she is very satisfied. Then, from today onwards, you will be called Yuanbao. Babbling, the little guy was very happy and hugged Mu-Yun and rubbed it affectionately. Immediately after that, a water column nourished Mu-Yun's handsome face. Mu-Yun touched his nose, crying and laughing. But he wasn't angry. Is this urine? This is an 8th order crystal nucleus, okay. After finding a utensil, Mu-Yun carefully collected it. The body of the elemental spirit is full of elemental power, and what comes out is not urine, but spiritual liquid. Ingots feed on objects containing psionic energy, and impurities eaten, and unabsorbable psionic energy are regularly excreted from the body. This spirit liquid is the natural reaction of the little guy's body after eating too much spirit crystal just now. It's full of spiritual energy. In fact, there are many ways to expel excess spiritual energy, and it is also possible to force it out directly from the finger. It's just that the ingots are more naughty and like this unexpected way. But if it's a boy, forget it. This guy is now a girl. When you grow up, this will definitely become the black history of the ingot. Smelly girl, if you boo in the future, come to me. Can't you boo and hear it anywhere? Yuanbao was stunned for a moment when he heard this, and then shook his head vigorously, as if in protest. Babbling, if you disobey, I'll spank you. Mu-Yun threatened. Yuanbao immediately shut up, covered his butt with his hands, and stared at Mu-Yun vigilantly. Seeing Yuanbao's appearance, Mu-Yun laughed. But looking at the little girl's clothes are not covered, even if she is only a 3-year-old child now, the impact is not very good. I'll have to find you clothes. Mu-Yun frowned and was distressed. He didn't stock up on children's clothes. With the attitude of looking for a look, Mu-Yun rummaged in the small world. Outcome. There really is. It was prepared by Chuantian for the future and Mu-Yun's baby before. Nipples, powdered milk, diapers and much more. Good guy, or my wife thought thoughtfully, and I actually used it. It's a pity that the child is not mine. 10 minutes later. Under the struggle of Yuanbao, Mu-Yun forcibly put on a very cartoonish children's outfit. Diapers and pacifiers are also arranged. Key lived. After getting the ingot, Mu-Yun collected the surrounding spirit crystals while walking towards the depths of the cave. Chapter 254. He wanted to see how amazing the place where spirit crystals could be bred was. Along the way, Mu-Yun put away all the exposed spirit crystals. As for the one buried deep underground, Mu-Yun didn't move. It was too time consuming, and he had to look for the key fruit, and he didn't have time to deal with these spars that needed to be mined for the time being. The further you go, the brighter the light becomes. It means that the number of spirit crystals around the stone wall is increasing. As long as Mu-Yun sees it, he accepts it all. In the small world, on the side of the hill of spiritual energy spars that were originally piled up, there is now a small mountain made of spiritual spars. The spiritual energy contained in this spirit crystal is not too high. It is probably in the 4th and 5th order. After all, it is the top layer of the vein, and the concentration of spiritual energy is naturally much lower than the core layer below the vein. Babbling, Yuanbao seemed to feel something, jumped happily, and ran to the depths of the passage with excitement. Immediately, Mu-Yun quickened his pace and followed closely. About 10 minutes or so, the depth of the channel is already unpredictable. Unexpectedly, when the depth reached the extreme, the cave began to extend towards the ground, and did not continue to descend. This place seems to be the core of the vein, and the surrounding spiritual energy is extremely dense. Yuanbao liked the environment here, jumped and had a lot of fun. Mu-Yun casually picked up a spirit crystal on the ground, and found that the spiritual energy contained in it was comparable to the 7th order crystal nucleus, which was very terrifying. Normally, 10 7th order crystal nuclei can be upgraded to the 8th order, 100 pieces to the 9th order, 1000 pieces to the 10th order, and reaching the peak of the 10th order is 11,110, and more than 10,000 7th order. Crystal nuclei may give birth to a strong person in the realm of kings. The number of mineral deposits here is enough for the core members of the Dragon Court to rise to the realm of kings, and our character is too good. Mu-Yun couldn't help but exclaim. Find the news of the key fruit as soon as possible, and then come to open the vein. This place must not let others know, otherwise the trouble will be endless. Mu-Yun's eyes flickered, picked up the ingots, and continued to walk forward. Babble. The little guy was a little reluctant to leave this place, and kept pulling in Mu-Yun's arms. Well, obedient. Babble. Mu-Yun coaxed. Let's go out to do something, and we'll be back in a while. Only then did Yuan Bao calm down and stop making noise. After walking ahead for a few minutes, my eyes suddenly brightened. What appeared in front of Mu-Yun was another cold pool, but what made him happy was that there were a large number of thick tree roots growing above the cold pool and on the surrounding stone walls. The roots of the tree go all the way up, like a giant python entrenched there. The field unfolded, and Mu-Yun's spiritual power probed upwards along the roots of the tree. Soon, a smile appeared on his face. Holy tree. Mu-Yun teleported to the sky above the surface, stepping on the void and slowly falling, standing on the top of the giant tree with a flowing figure. Below him, a giant tree was rooted in the cold, hard rock, with lush foliage. It looks like an ordinary maple tree, except that it is larger, and has a canopy that shades the sky like a giant umbrella. Fire red maple leaves are all over the surface of the trunk, and each maple leaf emits a faint red light, as if burning with a blazing flame. Mu-Yun's face had a bright smile on it. This tree was definitely a holy tree. Babbling, Yuan Bao looked at the only remaining fiery red fruit on the sacred tree full of mysterious patterns. Saliva was about to flow out. His eyes were shining and looking at Mu-Yun, and his mouth was babbling. You want to eat? Mu-Yun touched Yuan Bao's hairy head and asked. Babbling, Yuan Bao nodded vigorously, and a pair of big eyes stared directly at the red fruit on the sacred tree. Next time, I will keep this key fruit. Yuan Bao was stunned, and his small face was full of loss. Babbling Mu-Yun didn't know if after this key fruit was ripe, this holy tree would die directly like the previous one. If the holy tree was still alive, then Mu-Yun would find a way to transfer it to the small world. If he died, this last key fruit would be a seed, and Mu-Yun planned to plant it and recultivate it into a new holy tree. It seems that most of such heavenly materials and earth treasures live in special areas with sufficient spiritual energy, and the previous white mist holy tree may have appeared because of the magical green pendant, and this maple fire holy tree relied on the spiritual energy in the spirit crystal vein below. In this way, there will be a reference for finding other sacred trees in the future. Mu-Yun pondered secretly. While just as he was thinking, Yuan Bao noticed the movement from below and let out an exclamation. I saw a big red python rushing out from the bushes and rushing towards Mu-Yun. The body length of this big python is more than 50 meters. Its scales are shining with a dark blue light, and a pair of vertical pupils are like lanterns, releasing bloodthirsty light. The fiery red scales were fused with the maple fire sacred tree, and ordinary people could not find it at all. Bold demon, actually got an axe in front of me. I discovered your existence as soon as I came. Mu-Yun stepped on his feet and jumped up, perfectly avoiding the sneak attack of the red giant python. This is an 8th order mutant beast, which seems to be waiting for the key fruit to ripen, so it protects the key fruit like a guardian beast. SHHH. The mutant snake spat out the scarlet letter, obviously not expecting that Mu-Yun actually had the means to fly into the sky. It suddenly opened its blood basin and mouth, and a fire dragon spit out a bead. Mu-Yun squinted his eyes slightly, dodged the fireball a few sideways, and was just about to strike to kill it, but found that there was a buzzing sound of propellers in the distance. Oh, did the people from the minaret base come so soon? Mu-Yun was slightly surprised, thinking that he would use this giant python to test the strength and means of the umbrella company. Anyway, now that the key fruit is not ripe, he is not in a hurry to pick it. So Mu-Yun teleported back to the underground cave again with the ingot. After the python saw that the alien creature had disappeared and had no target, it re-burrowed into the canopy and hidden. Poof. 5 large helicopters fell from the sky, the hatch opened, and several soldiers dressed in black, wearing headsets, and holding various weapons walked out of the cabin. Steven was escorted in the middle by this force, scanning the possible dangers around him with a serious expression. Professor Steven, according to the radar, it should be this giant tree. A non-commissioned officer came to Steven and reported, well, first send someone to block the surroundings, clear the unstable factors, and remember, you can't damage the giant tree and the key fruit. Steven instructed the non-commissioned officer a few words, then raised his head and focused his gaze on the sacred tree. His face showed excitement. In the canopy of the tree, a pair of cold and bloodthirsty eyes stared at the insects busy under the tree. A hunt slowly unfolds silently. Chapter 255. This is a well-trained force. Everyone wears very advanced combat clothing, and the large guns in their hands have the style of future soldiers, and they can tell that they are amazingly powerful at a glance. The man at the head is a burly bald head, about 1.9 meters tall, with dark and dry skin, giving people a strong sense of oppression. Be careful, any plant here is experimental. Steven instructed. Don't worry, Professor, we'll be careful. Another soldier said. Steven nodded in satisfaction. This time the mission went very smoothly, just walking around and finding the target. Looking at the strange fiery red fruit in the center of the canopy, Steven's eyes were hot. As long as the experiment goes well, Steven will not hesitate to eat this key fruit. He will use the results of this experiment to open other gene locks in his body and become a godlike existence. At that point, he will be more than just a small employee of the umbrella company. He will be the master of the whole world. The end will end at his hands, and he will become the new pioneer of human civilization. Steven's breathing grew heavier, and the wonderful picture of him reaching the top and overlooking all living beings was already in his mind. But soon, his smile stiffened. Ah! The screams resounded in the sky, making the soldiers who were searching around tremble. Everyone looked back and found that a huge shadow appeared above their heads. What's that? Red Monty Python? A soldier couldn't help but ask. I saw a pitch black figure descending from the sky, and the blood basin bit towards the soldier. Boom. The soldier was swallowed in one gulp, and there was not even room to struggle. It's a mutant beast. Attack. Steven's pupils contracted, and he immediately ordered. Suddenly, the soldiers took out their guns and aimed at the mutant beast and pulled the trigger. Dense lasers poured onto the Monty Python. Unfortunately, these lasers hit the hard scales, leaving only shallow white marks. What a strong defense. Seeing this, Steven couldn't help but sigh. The red giant python ran rampant, swimming extremely fast to the group of soldiers, one by one, killing 3 or 4 soldiers in the blink of an eye. Watching his subordinates die, the bald man at the head had no waves in his eyes. These are just ordinary people, and it doesn't matter how many deaths there are. You protect the professor, I'll deal with the beast. The bald man ordered the 2 companions beside him and rushed towards the giant python alone. His body exuded a faint metallic luster, and a strangely shaped long knife was held in his palm. Ugh! The bald man jumped up and slammed into the giant python like a cannonball. His arm shook, and the sharp blade cut through the belly of the giant python. This long knife was the same move that Mu Yun used before. It was a high-frequency cutting weapon, and it was so sharp that it could even cut through the defenses of 9th-order creatures. Roar! A huge hole appeared on the body, and the giant python roared angrily, twisting its body madly. The huge tail twitched and swept the bald man's chest. Boom. The bald man took 2 steps back, and there was a hint of horror in his eyes. Although he was not injured, the attack just now gave his internal organs the illusion of turning over the river. Shit, it's still a little reluctant to kill an 8th-order creature. The bald man took a deep breath, his eyes soared, and he saw him take out a medicine and inject it into his body. Then the bald man's body erupted with an astonishing aura, as if he turned into a fierce beast. Originally, the strength of only the 6th order increased rapidly, and from the momentum, it directly reached the 7th order. Forthwith, the bald man turned into a man of steel, and rushed forward again with a high-frequency cutting knife. Bang! The giant python opened its mouth and spat out a blazing flame. The bald man's figure shook, easily avoided, and between the swings of the high-frequency cutting knife, dozens of wounds appeared on the python's body instantly. Blood gushed and severe pain made the python even more irritable. Bald men are equally uncomfortable. The python's tail whipped on him, causing his blood to surge. If it weren't for the increase in the potion just now, the bald man would have lost his ability to resist. Inside a cave at the bottom of a giant tree, Mu-Yun silently observed the battle above, with a pensive expression on his face. High-tech weapons act as means of attack, gold systems act as defenses, and with some kind of temporary strength enhancement potion, a 6th order powerhouse can actually tie with an 8th order mutant beast. Although the giant python did not want to destroy the sacred tree and the key fruit, it did not exert its full strength. But I have to say that the means of this umbrella company are really powerful. Mu-Yun whispered. Babble? Yuan Bao couldn't understand what Mu-Yun was saying, but just held a spirit crystal and gnawed on it with relish. Roar. After several minutes of fighting, the python finally fell downwind due to the limited environment, and after retreating, it returned to the canopy and hid. It happened that at this time, the bald man also collapsed to the ground with exhaustion, because the time of the medicine had passed. Boss, how are you? A soldier quickly picked him up and asked. It's okay, just rest for a while. The bald man waved his hand and said weakly. Stephen also stepped forward at this time and asked, how? Is there a way to kill it? No, I alone can delay it for a while at most, and it is impossible to kill it. The bald man shook his head and said. Hearing this, Stephen frowned. This was not the answer he wanted to hear. He is bound to get the key, and absolutely does not allow any mistakes. In that case, I will call for more troops to come to support. Stephen said coldly. As soon as the words fell, a killing intent enveloped the audience. Oh. The sharp blade tore through the air and emitted a breathtaking, piercing screech. I saw a cold light fly over, instantly penetrating the bald man's neck. Poof. With a muffled sound, scarlet blood spilled all over the ground, and the bald man's headless body stumbled and fell to the ground. The flesh of the tossed head had a look of consternation on his face. Stephen's pupils shrank sharply, and he was frightened by the sudden change. Who? I saw a slender young man with a perfectly proportioned body slowly walk out. What are you? Stephen's gloomy gaze through the silver-framed glasses stared at the young man in front of him questioningly. Dead people don't need to know so much. Mu-Yun smiled slightly, seemingly not taking these people to heart. Damn it. Give it to me. Kill him. Stephen was furious, and the remaining soldiers attacked Mu-Yun. In an instant, countless fireballs, lasers, clots, and various attacks bombarded Mu-Yun in unison. The person who can instantly kill their boss is definitely not simple. They dare not be careless. What is the use? Even grenades are used. But when the dust cleared, where was Mu-Yun's figure? What about people? Stephen's eyes widened. Swoosh. Suddenly, a sound of breaking the air came. Chapter 256. Ah. The screams rang out, and the four soldiers suddenly turned their heads in different places. Mu-Yun was like a ghost, walking in the crowd. The long sword turned into a cold glow in the sky, and the place he passed must take away a life. In just a few minutes, all the soldiers were killed. At this moment, Stephen, the light pole commander, was left on the scene. How so? He is actually so strong. Stephen looked at Mu-Yun with a dull expression, his forehead covered with beads of sweat, and he looked very flustered and shocked. Where the hell did this man come from? Mu-Yun glanced at Stephen indifferently, and said in an icy tone, now it's your turn. You can think clearly. There is no good result in making enemies of our umbrella company. Stephen took a deep breath and said through gritted teeth, HMPH. However, what responded to him was Mu-Yun's cold mockery. Immediately afterwards, a cold sword rested on Stephen's neck. You. Feeling the coolness coming from the sword, Stephen trembled, his eyes filled with fear. You. What exactly do you want to do? Stephen asked tremblingly, his handsome face only flustered at the moment. Kill you. Mu-Yun showed no mercy, and the sword body slashed across his neck, and a piece of blood suddenly splattered. Bang. His head rolled to the ground, and Stephen died with his eyes wide open. After solving Stephen, Mu-Yun looked at the red giant python hidden in the canopy. Then it's your turn. The corners of Mu Yun's mouth outlined an evil arc. I saw Mu Yun jump, and the blink of an eye came to the top of the giant snake's head. Roar. The giant python roared, and its huge body flipped, trying to throw Mu Yun away. Mu Yun was too lazy to talk nonsense, and the dragon court sword pointed directly at the giant python 7 inches, and then swung it out. Ugh. The dazzling sword light bloomed, and the sword body lightly slashed through the body of the giant python. Poof. The snake's head separated, and blood sprayed out, staining half of the sky. One move to kill in seconds. Although Mu Yun's strength is only of the 8th order, he is already able to become invincible under the realm of kings. Killing a fire mutant beast is simply a piece of cake. He took out the crystal nucleus and strengthening stone in the giant python's skull, and then threw the body elsewhere, saving him from polluting his maple fire holy tree. Back under the tree, Mu Yun collected the laser weapons and combat uniforms on the soldiers. These can be brought back to the base for Malin to study. In the bald man's pocket, Mu Yun also found 3 strengthening potions he had used before, and he also collected them together. And that shock-cutting weapon is also a good thing. If it can be popularized in the Dragon Court, the combat strength of Mu Yun's troops will be directly raised a notch. As for Steven, there is nothing good about him, only an identity card and a phone-like communicator. Okay, done. After cleaning up, Mu Yun clapped his hands and returned to the underground cave. Having seen the means of the Umbrella Company, Mu Yun did not think about continuing to watch the play. If it was at the minaret base, he probably wouldn't have made a move, because there is something hidden in the base that makes him feel jealous. But out of the base, he had nothing to worry about. There was still some time before the red key fruit was ripe, and Mu Yun was ready to guard step by step until the fruit was ripe. No one knew if this holy tree was the last one on the blue star, and Mu Yun did not dare to be careless. But he wasn't idle. In the cave, Mu Yun was like a hard-working little bee, mining the underground spirit crystal mine. A piece. 10 pieces. Or 1,000 pieces. 10,000 pieces. Sent it. Sent it. In the cave, creepy laughter continued to echo, like the low groan of the devil. At the same time, the minaret is at the very top. Araya will be able to access the data and take it with her. When the screen showed that the progress had reached 100%, she quickly unplugged the USB flash drive and tucked it into the Twin Peaks and hid it. Ron was still in a coma, and Araya ignored him and opened the door and left. But just as Araya opened the door, a man's hand instantly pinched her snow-white neck. Ahem. Araya exclaimed, her beautiful eyes round. When she saw the appearance of the man pinching her neck, she was stunned. You. Araya looked at the man in front of her in disbelief. Drive Araya, I don't think you seem to have permission to enter here. The corners of Steven's mouth raised slightly, revealing an evil smile. The eyes under the silver-framed glasses revealed coldness. Hearing this, Araya's delicate body trembled violently, her beautiful eyes were full of panic, and she shouted in a lost voice. How could it be? Why are you here? Steven let go of his hands, and Araya fell to the ground, her pretty face full of shock. It seems that the waste should be dead, otherwise I would not have been awakened so early. At this moment, Steven exuded a powerful aura on his body, giving people a shuddering feeling. Seeing the ragged and unconscious Ron on the ground, Steven already had some guesses in his heart. Are you a clone? Araya was so frightened that she quickly crawled back. To be precise, Steven was a clone before. I think you should get a good night's sleep now. I hope you still have a day to wake up. After that, he appeared behind Araya in a flash and stunned him with an elbow strike. Snap. Coming to Ron, Steven went up and gave him a big earmelon seed. Ron woke up and looked at Steven blankly. Professor? Idiot. Steven cursed angrily and slapped Ron again. Old boss. Ron had recognized the person in front of him as the real boss, not the imposter. HMPH. Such a little thing can't be done. I don't see the need for you to exist. Steven said expressionlessly. Ron got on his knees in fright and begged for mercy. No, boss. I was wrong. Please give me another chance. I lack people on my hands now, so I'll leave you alive for the time being. Ron was overjoyed and hurriedly kowtowed in apology. Thank you, boss. HMM. Steven nodded. Take this woman down first, seal it in a dome and warehouse, and no one can let her out without my order. Also, eliminate all the unstable factors around the number 2 experimental body to speed up the progress of the experiment. Yes. After finishing the order, Steven explained a few more words and left in a hurry. He also longed for the key fruit. After the clone dies, the nanochip in his body will transmit everything that he experienced before death to the body's mind through data transmission. He already knew Mu-Yun's existence, although it was not Mu-Yun's true face. But Steven knew that there was an 8th order or higher psychic guarding around the key fruit. In order to obtain the key, he had to use the base's secret weapon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 257. Steven takes the elevator to the secret laboratory under the minaret. The equipment here is more sophisticated than elsewhere. Various staff members were dressed in protective suits and looked solemn and busy. The closed rooms were filled with various mutant beasts and green slaves, which were covered with pipes that showed their physical condition. Boss. Seeing Steven enter the door, everyone stood up and saluted, with a fawning smile on their faces. These are the best scientists selected from the various bases. Hard work. Steven smiled and nodded. With a simple hello, he walked straight towards the deepest depths. In front of a locked metal door stood 2 heavily armed combat soldiers, who immediately saluted when they saw Steven approaching. Steven waved his hand, and the 2 soldiers stepped aside. Steven entered the code, and the metal door opened. He lifted his legs, and walked slowly in. In the center of the room is a huge transparent culture jar soaked in a naked young girl. The girl's body structure is very strange. Her limbs are slender, and her waist is full of grasp. Her skin is lilac, and the collarbone between her shoulders and neck is smooth and graceful, like a work of art. There are more than a dozen demon purple scales growing in the lower abdomen, and the scales form a strange pattern. A charming purple hair floats in the nutrient solution. Adding the most attractive thing to the girl is that the girl's back has a pair of bat wings full of scales. In addition, the 2 purple horns on the forehead and a long tail at the femoral cone are very similar to the succubus in mythology. At this moment, the girl exuded a faint purple light. Is this the baby born after the combination of humans and mutant beasts? It's really exciting to grow to this point in just a dozen days. Steven muttered, his eyes burning at the girl. Boom. Suddenly, the key fruit in the glassware suddenly opened his eyes, and his pupils turned pure purple. A terrifying scream erupted from her mouth, irritating the eardrums of everyone present. Steven was awakened by this voice, quickly covered his ears, frowned and reprimanded. Quiet. A little charming. Her peerless face is dazzling. The most attractive thing is that the girl's back has a pair of bat wings covered with scales. In addition, the 2 purple horns on the forehead and a long tail at the femoral cone are very similar to the succubus in mythology. At this moment, the girl's body was curled up in glassware, her eyes closed, like a sleeping princess. The purple spar embedded in the eyebrow flickered, emitting a faint purple light. Is this the baby born after the combination of humans and mutant beasts? In just a dozen days, she has grown to such a point, which really makes people look forward to her figure after waking up. Steven muttered, his eyes burning at the girl. Boom. Suddenly, the girl in the glassware suddenly opened her eyes, and her pupils turned pure purple. The powerful momentum was released from her delicate body, filling the entire laboratory, making everyone feel breathless. The girl's vision quickly scanned the surroundings. Soon, she saw Steven. When she saw Steven clearly, the girl's originally soft expression instantly became fierce. But before she could act, the thin tube inserted in the back of her head suddenly transmitted a strong electric current, completely paralyzing her. Her body fell limply in the glassware, unable to resist anymore. HMPH. Steven sneered contemptuously. Already have the ability to think? It seems that it can almost be released. I saw him tapping on the display screen in front of the culture tank, and a miniature energy chip cut the skin on the back of the girl's head under the control of the manipulator, and did not enter her flesh and blood. The girl struggled in pain, but to no avail. After a few moments, the tiny energy chip was completely integrated into her brain. The next moment, the girl's eyes gradually became godless and empty. Steven's hand movements did not stop, and he continued to tap the screen to give instructions. Soon, crystal nuclei were sent into glass jars. The girl instinctively began to absorb the energy in the crystal nucleus. The 7th order, 8th order, 9th order, 10 orders. Peak. The girl's aura became stronger and stronger, and as the level increased, the succubus grew from a girly form to a royal sister. The 2 demon horns on the forehead grew from small pointed tips to goat's horns that curved backwards. The wings on the back also doubled in size, filling almost the entire vessel. Ha ha ha, it worked. What a perfect work, my masterpiece. Steven was ecstatic and looked at the puppet-like royal sister in the cultivation tank. Not only has the divine intelligence of a human being, but also can absorb spiritual energy wantonly like a mutant beast, without the limitations of the physical body. As long as the energy is enough, it can become a 10th order existence in an instant. He muttered, his eyes shining with fiery greed. 10 steps. With this weapon, who can be my opponent in the future? Ha 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 ha. Thinking of the infinite scenery of the future, Steven couldn't help but laugh maniacally. The food needed by the supernatural to break through the realm is too large, and even the vast umbrella company of the supernatural power cannot afford to consume such a huge amount of food. But higher level superpowers are indispensable weapons, and they have specially carried out research for this. Through the characteristics of mutant beasts and green slaves that can break through without limit, do not need food, combine them with humans, and finally spend countless efforts, sacrifice countless women, and finally only one experimental subject survives. Mutant beasts and green slaves have no brains, and it is troublesome to manipulate them. But the girl in front of her is different. The moment she was born with her psychic mind, the umbrella company had a way to keep it firmly in control. Now, the world's first mutant beast with spiritual intelligence has been born. Steven pressed the button to open the hatch. The nutrient solution in the porphyry vessel was drained. The tube at the back of the girl's head was also pulled out, and the wound was healed in an instant. It can be seen how powerful the girl's physical body recovery speed is. Subject DX8987, codename, Succubus. Come on, let this world see the horror of the 10th order mutant beast. Steven opened his arms with a thick look of anticipation on his face. The moment the hatch opened, the demon spread its huge wings. Tall, graceful and bumpy. A pair of purple wings stretched out on her back, emitting a deep purple light, adding a mysterious temptation to her. The momentum of the 10th order peak shrouded the entire base, oppressing everyone to breathe. Steven was the first to bear the brunt. Even as a 6th order powerhouse, he was shocked by this momentum, and retreated more than 10 meters. Ha 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 ha. Key fruit, I'm bound to get it. Chapter 258. Maple Leaf Town. A cave under the maple fire sacred tree. Mu-Yun had been mining the spirit crystal for nearly 6 hours. The small mountain of spirit crystals piled up in the small world has become a big mountain. These spirit crystals were enough for Mu-Yun to break through to the 9th order, or even the 10th order. But these spirit crystals are only the tip of the iceberg for the entire vein. I'm a bit slow to collect like this. Mu-Yun frowned. Although the white feeling of mining spirit crystals was very refreshing, it was too time consuming. At my rate of collection, I can't mine it in less than a month. He sighed, a little distressed. Digging piece by piece is too slow, so I have to dig violently and move the whole mountain directly. Although the vein is huge, my domain radius has reached 10,000 meters, and the diameter is 20,000 meters. This vein is about 200,000 meters. I just need to divide it into 10 sections. I can empty it, and then take it out and mine it slowly. Mu-Yun said to himself. He had already made a decision. Just as he was about to make a move, an unfamiliar aura appeared within the range shrouded by spiritual power. The breath made Mu-Yun feel palpitations. It's exactly the same as the danger you felt when you were at the base of the minaret. Mu-Yun immediately became vigilant and paid full attention to the surroundings. Suddenly, he saw a familiar figure. How come? The Queen of Succubus? Mu-Yun's eyes widened, and his eyes were full of surprise. The succubus stretched its purple bat wings and galloped towards the sacred tree. The graceful ketone body is draped in tulle, and the long black skirt cannot hide the proud curves, especially the buttocks, looming. The person in front of him, Mu-Yun, is very familiar and has had a lot of dealings in his previous life. Even almost lost to her. In other words, many strong people in the previous life almost lost themselves to her. No one knows where the Queen of Succubus came from when she saw a powerful male and would catch her and forcibly do something shameful. The purpose is to give birth to a stronger next generation and strengthen its own race. The appearance of the succubus queen comes in the middle of the end times, when her succubus family has grown. And as a queen herself, she has also reached the realm of kings. The thousands of succubus in the group are all 9th order and 10th order existences, and all of them are beautiful women. This force is terrifying. Back then, no matter what force encountered the demon queen's race, it would choose to avoid it. Otherwise, the men will be arrested and used as fertility tools, and the end is very miserable, and most of them will be cooled to death. Some high quality men with good kidneys, long handsome, will be kept in captivity, and the purpose is self-evident. I don't know if there is a problem with the genetic chain. The descendants of the succubus are all women, and they can only reproduce in this way. As for human women, they are generally held hostage in exchange for supplies from human forces. The wisdom of the succubus is extremely high, and it is no different from that of humans. They have their own territory, even a kingdom. Usually, it will not attack human forces at will, and even protect the demon territory and the surrounding human base city. The condition is naturally regular on top of quality men. It's no problem to hand over the tribute, everyone is safe, and even covers you from mutant beasts. But if you can't hand it over, or refuse to surrender, then I'm sorry. The men are taken away, the women are sold. Over the years, humans have gotten along with the succubus family more harmoniously, and even formed a covenant. Compared to those beast races, the Sea Tribe, the succubus clan can be regarded as a neutral force. Some male humans who live a hard life sometimes run to the land of succubi to earn extra money and subsidize their families. Mu-Yun didn't expect to see the Demon Queen here today. So, the birth of the Demon Queen and the Umbrella Company are related. Mu-Yun narrowed his eyes, his mind racing, guessing the reason. Click. A flash of lightning crossed my mind. There was even a wooden door that suddenly closed and opened again. There is only one truth. Maybe it was the Demon Queen who destroyed the Umbrella Company, which caused the news about the gene lock and key fruit to be interrupted, and it did not spread in the human world at all. Looking at the succubus queen who fell from the sky, Mu-Yun felt that what he guessed was not far from 10. At this moment, the eyes of the succubus queen were empty and expressionless, obviously under control. Once out of control, the first unlucky person is definitely the Umbrella Company. After that, the succubus family rose strongly, uprooting the Umbrella Company. Everything makes sense. So the Demon Queen has become a human sinner? For the future of human civilization, as the savior of the whole world, this succubus I must take away. Well, it was decided so happily. Alas, sure enough, the greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Mu-Yun had an unfathomable expression, as if he was a sage who saved his life. Yunbeo, you are here obediently waiting for me to come back, and wait for me to collect this troubled demon girl. Babble. Yunbeo blinked his small eyes, and raised his hands high, as if saying come on. Mu-Yun smiled slightly, he stretched out his right hand, gently touched the little head of the ingot, and then a teleportation appeared behind the succubus queen. HMPH. The Demon Queen seemed to sense something, and she turned her head sharply, revealing a pretty face. The lilac skin can be broken, Joan's nose is upturned, and the red lips are attractive. A pair of purple pupils are as brilliant as stars. The whole body reveals an inexplicable noble temperament, but this temperament is mixed with a hint of peach that is not yet ripe. At that moment, Mu-Yun's breathing paused slightly, but after all, after a long time in the battlefield, there were many beauties around, and their immunity was extremely strong, and they recovered immediately. Finding targets. Obliterate. The Demon Queen let out a low roar, and a terrifying murderous intent erupted all over her body, rushing straight at Mu-Yun. Boom. She waved her wings and set off a huge wind, blowing Mu-Yun almost unsteadily. What a strong force. Mu-Yun secretly smacked his tongue. This has at least reached the peak of the 10th order, and he is only one step away from stepping into the realm of kings. It's not suitable for combat here. Follow me. Glancing at the holy tree behind him, Mu-Yun flashed and galloped towards the distance. Seeing this, the Demon Queen hurriedly chased after her and bit Mu-Yun tightly. Mu-Yun's speed was extremely fast, and the Demon Queen was in hot pursuit. The two escaped and chased, which lasted for 5 or 6 kilometers. In the end, Mu-Yun stopped fleeing, and a sneer appeared at the corner of his mouth. The battle here should not affect the holy tree. As soon as the Demon Queen approached, she felt a suffocating sense of oppression hit her. She raised her arms, hugged her chest, and was not afraid in the face of Mu-Yun's punch. Bang! A violent collision creates a huge shockwave. The two retreated tens of meters each. Although it was just a simple trial, Mu-Yun was able to determine that the Demon Queen's physique was powerful. Such a highly defended opponent is really tricky. However, since the decision is made, there is no room for retreat. I put the succubus away. It's useless when Satan comes, I said. Chapter 259. Hundreds of kilometers away, inside the minaret base, Stephen watched the fierce battle between the two through satellite footage. For the strength of the succubus, he is very relieved, and there is no need to worry at all. On the contrary, Mu-Yun surprised Stephen. Where did the masters come from? The headquarters has gathered all the resources, and until now he can cultivate a 10th order superpower. Is there a more terrifying force in the world than our company? Stephen muttered, his brow furrowed into a creek shape, lost in thought. Could it be the US military? A cold light flashed in Stephen's eyes. At the same time, on the other side, Mu-Yun and the Demon Queen have already fought hundreds of moves, still invincible. Zeng. The dragon court sword stabbed under Mu-Yun's control, fierce, with the power of tearing space, and instantly approached the throat of the Demon Queen. Ding! I saw the wings behind the Demon Queen suddenly stretched out, forming a barrier, and blocking the attack of the dragon court sword. Even with high frequency cutting, the dragon court sword only left a shallow white mark on the scales of its wings. The purple bat wings trembled lightly, shaking the dragon court sword away. The Demon Queen's eyes flashed with enchantment, and without words, she once again deceived herself. Her speed was very fast, and if Mu-Yun did not have a spiritual domain field, she would not be able to see clearly with the naked eye. Whoops. In the blink of an eye, the Demon Queen turned into 3 afterimages, attacking Mu-Yun's left and right and head respectively. 10 fingernails were slender and shimmering with icy metallic cold. Ring the bell. The 3 sharp claws fell into the air and were blocked by the dragon court sword block. HMPH. At this moment, Mu-Yun's ears moved slightly, and he heard the sound of breaking wind from behind. He turned around abruptly, raised his hand, and swept out with a sword. The speed of the Demon Queen was too fast, and Mu-Yun could only capture the trajectory of her movement if she concentrated and concentrated. Bell. The Demon Queen held the dragon court sword with both arms, but her whole person was also shocked and retreated. Take advantage of your illness, it will kill you. Mu-Yun didn't give the Demon Queen a chance to breathe. He immediately rushed forward, raised his sword and slashed again. The Demon Queen shook her arms and swung the dragon court sword, and in an instant, her wings flapped again, and a gust of wind swept in, wanting to blow Mu-Yun away. Mu-Yun had already expected this, and he quickly retreated to dodge, but this hurricane seemed to have spirituality, and actually tracked Mu-Yun's movement trajectory, and continued to sweep towards him. This guy's wings are really troublesome. Mu-Yun secretly cursed in his heart, but he didn't panic. He saw him bend his legs, jump up suddenly, and then step heavily on the hurricane. With the help of the thrust of the hurricane, flew towards the Demon Queen again. Phew. The sound of swords resounded in the sky. Ding! Another fierce collision. The body of the Demon Queen was knocked back several steps, and a large mouthful of blood spewed out. However, this damage is insignificant to the Demon Queen. After only a second, the injury has healed. Yes, this is too tricky. Mu-Yun secretly cried bitterly. This Demon Queen's physical body is simply ridiculously strong. From the purple spar at the center of her eyebrows, it can be inferred that, while the powerful physical body of the mutant beast was inherited by her, she herself also possessed physical powers. And it is very likely that it is also a mutated physical power. Under the superposition of these effects, the succubus queen has a taste of breaking all laws with one force. Let your powers reach the sky, and she will break it by herself. Moreover, Mu-Yun also knew that the Demon Queen possessed a certain spiritual ability, and later generations called her ability to enchant sentient beings. However, the current Demon Queen should not have awakened this ability. Most likely it was the ability obtained when stepping into the King realm. Even so, the Succubus Queen at the moment is difficult enough. It's not an idea to continue fighting like this. You have to find a way to get the Queen of Charms out of the Umbrella Company. Mu-Yun could detect that a special chip was implanted in the mind of the Demon Queen. As soon as it is removed or destroyed, it can be released from control. But the trouble is that the rank of the Demon Queen exceeds Mu-Yun's 2 ranks. He couldn't take it out as easily as he could take out the miniature bomb in Eria's body. The words of the realm cannot be invaded with the ability, surpassing Mu-Yun's 2-level existence in the body. Otherwise, Mu-Yun would have been invincible to anyone who died glaring at. And even if Mu-Yun froze the body of the Demon Queen, or suppressed it through the power of thought, with the strong flesh of the other party, he can easily break free. What to do? Mu-Yun's eyes were dark, and he carefully thought about countermeasures. Swoosh! Suddenly, a purple streamer struck, extremely fast, and almost reached Mu-Yun's chest between the electric flints. Mu-Yun's pupils shrank, and quickly dodged sideways. Although his reaction was fast enough, he could not dodge perfectly, and a deep blood stain was cut on his shoulder, and blood suddenly gushed out. Woo! Immediately afterwards, the Demon Queen waved her wings, and rushed over again. Bang! The Demon Queen slapped her palm on the Dragon Court sword, and the huge force blasted the Dragon Court sword away. Lean, engage in a sneak attack, careless, no flash. Mu-Yun muttered, his steps stumbled, and he almost fell to the ground. Ugh. Taking advantage of this gap, the Demon Queen seized the opportunity, and her body jumped suddenly, like a cannonball, towards Mu-Yun. Poof. The sharp claws went straight to Mu-Yun's neck. If this blow hit, Mu-Yun would definitely die. Mindstorm. At a critical moment, Mu-Yun suddenly burst out a huge mental power, instantly shrouding the Demon Queen inside, making it difficult for her to move an inch. Although it only made the Succubus Queen's figure slightly paused, she soon broke free from the shackles of Nyan power, but it also allowed Mu-Yun to gain valuable time. Get in, you. I saw Mu-Yun take out the familiar black coffin, open the lid of the coffin, and directly buckle it on the head of the Demon Queen. Squeak. The lid of the coffin closes slowly, eventually trapping the Demon Queen inside. Boom. Boom. The Demon Queen knocked the black coffin, trying to break the coffin board and escape. Mu-Yun would not let her succeed. Under his control, Nyan power suppressed the coffin lid all the time. He then took out a large number of long-handled weapons captured from the Sea Clan. These weapons are made of special minerals from the deep sea, and the density of these ores under the pressure of the sea is amazing. Mu-Yun summoned a high-temperature flame, quickly smelted these ores, and then made them into chains to firmly bind the black coffin. Boom. The Demon Queen is still frantically attacking the black coffin, as if she is indefatigable, and has inexhaustible physical strength. Fortunately, the black coffin is strong enough, and I don't know what material it is made of. At present, except for the space-cutting skill, which can destroy it, Mu-Yun has never seen anything that can destroy it. Roar. The witch roared angrily, roaring incessantly, obviously very angry. To be on the safe side, the black coffin, that was tied up like a rice dumpling, was covered with a layer of cold ice under Mu-Yun's operation. After doing this, Mu-Yun put away his motivation. But even if he wanted to, he didn't have the ability to do it. The energy in Mu-Yun's body had been exhausted. If this can't trap the Demon Queen, he has to hide in the small world, wait for the opportunity, and wait for the opportunity. Fortunately, the black coffin and the chain are strong enough, and after putting away the power of thought, the black coffin does not move. No matter how the Demon Queen attacks, it can't help it. Mu-Yun breathed a sigh of relief. It's not easy. I really can't stop you without some real skills. Chapter 260. What to do with it? Mu-Yun touched his chin and thought. It's not safe to put a small world in case this guy breaks free from the black coffin, but they will be in danger. We have to solve the control chip in the mind of the Demon Queen as soon as possible to avoid future troubles. It seems that the key fruit can't ripen in a short time. Go and level the minaret base first. There must be something that controls the Succubus Queen. Mu-Yun had already made up his mind in his heart and immediately dragged the black coffin towards the base of the minaret. Before leaving, Mu-Yun found a fifth-order mutant wild boar from elsewhere. He was tied to the maple fire sacred tree and temporarily served as a doorman. Inside the minaret base at the moment, Steven looked at the suppressed demon queen on the screen, and there were no other mood swings on his face, except stunned and unbelievable. 10 orders. This is the existence of the peak of the 10th order. How is it possible? Steven felt his scalp tingle. It was unbelievable that his masterpiece succubus had been suppressed so easily. Why? What is this sacred? Steven muttered, his eyes confused. The surrounding professors, doctors, and experts were also shocked by the scene in the picture. Unbelievable. Is there already such a powerful psychic at this stage? So what's the point of our research? Alas, what is the end of science after all? Many researchers have talked about it, and years of cognition and worldview have been subverted. Their own research results are at the forefront of human civilization. Who would have thought that a random person would crush the results of their experiment? It made them feel lost, and faith collapsed at this moment. Calm down. Steven suddenly said, everyone listen to me. The reason why this person can trap the succubus is that the black coffin in the other party's hand occupies a very important factor. Without this prop, this person would never have been able to defeat the results of our experiment. Steven's words immediately reminded everyone. That's right, if it weren't for this prop, the other party wouldn't have been able to fight back. Professor Kane echoed. Immediately, more people began to echo. But the problem is, the succubus is trapped. The other party is obviously aware of the existence of our base, and is coming towards this side. What should we do next? Some researchers have raised questions. How's the preparation for experiment number 2? At this time, Steven suddenly asked. The simulation data has been tested, and the probability of success is currently 77.77%, and we need more time to deduce the calculation to improve the chance of success. The required equipment and external factors have been completely eliminated, and as long as the success rate exceeds 90%, we can carry out the experiment. Otherwise the risk is too great. Kane explained from the sidelines. It's too late. Execute it now. Steven pondered for a moment and slowly spoke. But the sample is so rare. In case of failure, if the other party knocks on the door, do you think that everyone here is an opponent, with the current garrison of the base, can resist the existence of a 10th order superpower? In the face of Steven's questioning, everyone stopped speaking. Steven continued, before the other party arrives at the base, open the gene lock of the second experimental body. Only in this way can we have the possibility of fighting against the existence of the 10th order. Ron, go and bring the experimental subjects to the laboratory. I will operate it myself. Yes. Also, send those experimental defective products to intercept it. The main task is to liberate the succubus. Don't worry about anything else. As long as the succubus can get out of trouble, everything will be fine. Yes, sir. Ron nodded in understanding, and immediately led the way to leave. Steven led a group of researchers into Lab 2. Soon, the unconscious Anne was brought in and slowly pushed into a capsule. As for her parents, they had already been disposed of by Major Ron. This external factor that may affect the experiment must be removed. With the help of various instruments, Steven began to operate. Active particles detected. Do you sample? Sampling. The active particle sampling is complete. Analyze. With Steven's orders, a series of examination results were presented. The active particles contain extremely weak bioelectric currents and have very strong radiation effects. The gene lock is opened at 20%. The cell activity response is abnormal. Whether to implant inhibitors. The experiment is being carried out in an orderly manner. Under the mercy of these mad scientists, the original cute girl's body sometimes twitched, sometimes spasmed, her eyes were red, and the corners of her mouth spilled blood. Or thick dead aura continued to permeate the air. These death key cannot be seen nor touched, but it contains some indescribable strange feeling. It seems that the move to open the gene lock has violated the forbidden area of the gods, and the divine punishment has come. The aura of death erodes the surrounding environment, causing various negative smells such as decay, coldness, and stench in the air. One researcher couldn't help but vomit after smelling these smells. Damn, what the hell is this? Why does it smell so bad? One researcher roared angrily, eager to tear the air around him apart and expel the filthy stuff. "Bastard, you give me quiet, if it affects the experiment, I will shoot you." Another researcher glared at him and shouted. Although he hated these tastes in his heart, he had to grit his teeth and persevere. In the lab, Stephen frowned, his forehead covered with beads of sweat. He didn't pay attention to these anomalies and stared intently at the progress of the experiment. The degree to which the gene lock is opened, 50%. 60%. The degree of collapse is close to the critical value. Immediately transfer the nutrition cabin. Cell activity is intense. Cells begin to proliferate rapidly. Energy. The experimental body needs a lot of energy. As the progress of the experiment climbed, the atmosphere in the laboratory began to gradually become strange. The aura of chaos, evil, and decay quietly spread throughout the minaret base. The forbidden areas of life are not so easy to explore, and human beings will pay a terrible price for their own arrogance. Chapter 261. In the laboratory, the corners of these researchers' mouths rose unconsciously under the strange breath of death. One by one, faces caught in madness were revealed. Their eyes were bloodshot, their pupils dilated, and only the sound of their own heavy breathing remained in their ears. The picture in front of me began to shake, and the surrounding scenery kept spinning, dazzling. Boom. Boom. The heartbeat became more and more rapid, even with a strange rhythm. Suddenly, a researcher burst into crazy laughter. Ha ha ha. The experiment is successful, a masterpiece. This will be a new milestone in human civilization. My Jason Tronpo will definitely go down in the annals of human civilization. Ha ha ha. Immediately afterwards, several people burst into maniacal laughter. There was a hint of inexplicable weirdness in the laughter. Nope. Why? Why did it fail? Obviously all the data did not go wrong. Why? Roaring hysterically, his expression hideous and terrifying, trembling and in a state of madness. What are you kidding? The experiment was clearly successful. It's you daydreaming. They are convinced of what they see, and no one can convince anyone. But the real situation is that his gene chain is only 80% open. The display screen in front of the incubator impressively shows the figure 80%. This person seemed to have taken hallucinogens, and in order to prove that he was right, he began to fight with the people around him. The beginning of chaos spread rapidly like a plague. In just a few minutes, most of the researchers in the lab had collapsed. But for the death of his colleagues, the rest of the people were indifferent, and even continued to hold various tools, smashing at the corpses on the ground, their faces hideous. Click. I don't know who opened the door to the laboratory. The confused researcher stumbled step by step towards the door. Their gazes were dull, their mouths muttering something, and their steps became more and more faltering. Failed. There is no hope, they muttered, slowly arriving at the control console where the mutant beasts and experimental subjects were held. Press the on button and the red light on the console flashes twice and then goes out. Immediately, they released these sleeping mutant beasts and experimental subjects from the iron cage. Roar. Whoosh. The group of mutant beasts and experimental subjects hissed and pounced on the surroundings. Boom. 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 There was a muffled noise in the laboratory, walls shattered and shards of glass splashed everywhere. These experiments, which should have been dying, seemed to be stimulated, and frantically pounced on the researchers around them. Soon, a mournful scream resounded throughout the underground test site. Blood spurted out, and stump and broken arms flew around. This place has become a genre purgatory. But even so, there are still researchers who keep opening various floodgates. Those tortured mutant beasts and experimental subjects have long been full of resentment towards the outside world, and when they saw the experimenter, they immediately pounced. Fierce fighting is inevitable, but this human tragedy is far from stopping, and the most unfortunate are the bottom survivors in the base. In the originally calm base, under the influence of the breath of death, the survivors began to fight each other. And it doesn't make sense. The dark side of human nature is infinitely magnified under the influence of the breath of death. The order inside the base collapsed in an instant. I don't know who opened the passage of the underground laboratory to the outside world. A large number of mutant beasts and experimental subjects rushed out of the experimental base and began to wreak havoc in the base. When the sun sets in the west, the heavens and the earth fall into dusk. Chaos and despair became the final swan song of the minaret base. Bang. But a pleas for mercy, angry growls, and painful wails were intertwined. Compose a terrifying death song. Click. While somewhere under the base, a sleeping pod slowly opens. Araya sat up abruptly and gasped. Her forehead was covered with fine beads of sweat, and her cheeks were extremely pale. Her gaze swept around. I found myself in an unfamiliar room, probably due to a power outage, and only red warning lights were left around to emit a harsh light. She bit her lower lip lightly, enduring the tearing pain in her mind. The memory returned, reminding her of everything that happened before she fell into a coma. I'm not dead. Steven didn't kill me. Rubbing her drowsy head, Araya looked at her chest and found that the USB flash drive was still there and had not been lost. She didn't know what was happening outside, but anyway, she survived. Climbing out of the sleeping pod, Araya fumbled around the room for a while. Although the sleeping cabin opens automatically due to a power outage, the door of the room cannot be opened automatically due to a loss of power. What happened inside the base? Why was even the power system here destroyed? Although Araya doesn't know where she is, from the surrounding environment, it should be somewhere under the minaret. It can be said that this is the heart of the base, and all the secrets are hidden here. If even the power is cut here, it means that the minaret base has encountered an unprecedented crisis. What to do? Am I going to die here? At this moment, Araya's figure appeared in Myung's mind. Will he come to rescue me? Shaking her head, Araya smiled self-deprecatingly. How could a woman like me take this risk for me? Araya sighed, looking lonely. Once upon a time, she was also a naive and romantic girl, but now she has fallen to this point, which can't help but make people embarrassed. No, I still have chips. Araya took out the USB flash drive on her chest, and her eyes rekindled hope. Trump needs this, and maybe there is a chance to turn around. I can't sit still. Araya's eyes gradually became firm. In this world, no one can rely on themselves. After a while, I found that the communicator in my pocket was still there. She tried to contact Myung, but many attempts ended in failure. There is no signal here. Araya's brows furrowed, her thoughts racing, and then she noticed the red warning lights in the room. The emergency power supply is connected to this, and when the base loses power supply, this line will be activated. However, the emergency power supply will run out after only a few hours. After all, it was the doctor, and Araya immediately thought of a way to escape. First look for available tools in the room, then smash open the control panel of the gate, then connect the wires of the emergency power supply. It sounds like that, but it's a lot of work to operate. Araya is not an electrician, and is completely blind when it comes to the final wiring. Poof. Even by cab. I'm such a genius. It may be that the blind cat hit the dead rat, and it really made Araya right. The gate opened slowly, but at a very slow speed, as if the voltage was not enough. It stopped after only a short opening of the gate, and the circuit board burned out due to overloading. But enough for Araya. It can still be squeezed out. Chapter 262. She took a deep breath, supported the cold and wet ground with both hands, and moved her body with difficulty. Little by little, after sticking her head out and finding that it was quiet outside and there were no guards or searchers, Araya was relieved in her heart. Then she continued to move her body. Damn, it's not a good thing to think it's too big the first time, she muttered as she quickened her move. Finally, she managed to get out of the narrow gate. Looking down at the signal on the communicator, turned into a block, Araya tried to contact Myung. After a long time, the communicator did not react at all. She sighed, and just as she was about to give up, the communicator suddenly flashed. Hello. Myung's voice came out. Is there something wrong with me? Hearing this, Araya's spirit was shocked, as if a drowning person had grasped a life-saving straw. I'm stuck in the lab. Can you come and save me? Her voice was full of pleading and expectation. I have a lot of information about the umbrella company. There was a moment of silence on the communicator's side. Rescuing the partner is not in the cooperation plan. You have to add money. Araya gritted her teeth and said, good. Just make sure I can live, and I can give you everything I have. I'm not interested in you. Have you heard of a creature that looks like a succubus? Did it come out of your base? Succubus? I know that the experimental subject DX8987 codename Succubus, is the only baby born after the combination of mutant beasts and humans, and the potential is great. This guy's now being manipulated by some kind of smart chip, and I need to manipulate the chip's device to help me find it. This difficult? Araya hesitated. Now that there is an accident in the base, I can't guarantee that I will find it. I can only say that I try to help you find it while ensuring my own safety. Something happened? What happened? On the other end of the communicator, Mu-Yun's face was full of doubts. After listening to Araya's explanation, the expression on his face became even more complicated. Clones. It's a lot of fun, but this technology can be studied. The technology of artificial embryos can solve the problem of human population shortage, and the population of Blue Star will continue to plummet with natural disasters in the future, and I want this technology. Mu-Yun, who was galloping in the sky, muttered there. Araya had already hung up the communicator and began to carefully navigate the underground experimental base. She wanted to find out what had happened at the base. Mu-Yun also increased his flight speed slightly. I haven't even started yet. Why did the minaret base collapse first? Just as he was confused, a breaking wind quickly approached. Mu-Yun turned around sharply and saw a white shadow shooting towards him like a sharp arrow. Lean. What's it? Mu-Yun scolded secretly and hurriedly flashed sideways. Boom. When you look at it, it is a large white bat, but the white bat has a head that resembles a human. In addition, Mu-Yun also found that there were several auras around him rapidly approaching. Previously, Steven ordered the remnants of the experimental subjects sent to delay time, and after more than an hour, these monsters finally found Mu-Yun. Boom. The white bat let out a piercing cry, and when it opened its mouth, several clouds of acid spewed out. Mu-Yun quickly blocked it with flames, followed by another huge force. A black vulture slammed one claw on the solid ice wrapped in the black coffin. Their target seems to be only the black coffin, fearless of death, annoying. Zeng. The dragon court sword was unsheathed and slashed at the vulture that pounced. Poof. The vulture burst instantly, turning into pieces and falling. Mu-Yun's brows furrowed, and he swung his sword again, sweeping away all the monsters that pounced on him. Carving insect skills. The monsters of the 6th order are also sent to die. It seems that the minaret base is exhausted by donkey skills. These mutilated experimental subjects who came to block only dragged Mu-Yun for 5 minutes, which was just an insignificant episode for him. Mu-Yun dragged the black coffin in his hand and continued to set off. An hour later, when Mu-Yun came to the sky above the minaret base, under the dark night sky, the base was a mess, with charred corpses and blood everywhere. Mu-Yun suddenly frowned. Huge mutant beasts wreak havoc everywhere, devouring delicious food. The survivors on the side were oblivious to this. The two bodies in rags are hot, entangled together. It eats it, I mine, and it has nothing to do with each other. When the mutant beast finished eating the food in its hand, it then swallowed the two inseparable flesh in one bite. The two survivors were unaware, addicted and happy. Many more are killing each other, mumbling words they don't understand. All the destruction you can't get. Ella, why not stay with me? Oh, so it all up. There is no hope in this world. You all deserve to die. Mu-Yun frowned, and a hint of foreboding appeared in his heart. These in front of me are really weird. Everyone's eyes are empty, trapped in their own world. Suddenly, a wave of will with negative emotions such as chaos, evil, terror, despair, etc. came on. Mental attack. Mu-Yun secretly said badly in his heart. But as soon as this thought arose, his whole person froze in midair, unable to move. His soul was strongly impacted, and his consciousness was in a trance, and he was almost lost. Fortunately, in just an instant, Mu-Yun regained his clarity. Such a terrifying spiritual attack, it feels even more terrifying than Snake G's Kraken song. No wonder these people below have no ability to resist. He looked at the group of dazed, numb people below, and shook his head. Forget it. Since you met, you have to do something. Mu-Yun raised his hand and waved, and the dragon court sword flew away, killing all those mutant beasts in the base. After doing this, he looked for the source of the spiritual pollution below the minaret. As for the survivors who entangled and fought each other, Mu-Yun had no time to deal with it. All the way down, there are corpses of researchers and staff everywhere. The ruins are broken, and the blood is drenched, like hell on earth. As Mu-Yun continued to go deeper, he conveniently solved several experimental subjects. A sneaky figure came into view ahead. Mu-Yun's eyelids were slightly raised. In his line of sight, Eri was crawling on the ground, moving her delicate body outward little by little. Even the atmosphere did not dare to breathe, for fear of alarming the nearby monsters. Chapter 263. What for? Mu-Yun suddenly made a sound, so frightened that she almost jumped. Trump? You scared me to death. Eri glared at him angrily, and then seemed to react, and threw herself into Mu-Yun's arms. Woohoo, you can be considered coming. If you don't come again, I really can't hold on. Eri cried, hugging Mu-Yun tightly, as if she wanted to use her whole body and mind to prove the importance of this man to herself. Well, this is not like your previous personality. How can you be like a little woman? Mu-Yun was a little embarrassed by Eri. It's easy to deal with stinky men, but those monsters who don't recognize the six relatives don't eat sisters set. Eri sobbed and wrapped her arms tighter. Several times I almost died. If you don't come again, I really can't hold on. Listening to her pitiful, Mu-Yun didn't know what to say. Tell me, what's going on here? Where did these mutant beasts and monsters come from? Eri wiped the tears from her face and calmed down. I don't know much. These mutant beasts and monsters were originally locked up in special rooms in the laboratory. I checked a video of the experiment, and soon after Steven turned on Lab 2, these people's spirits began to become abnormal, and the monsters and experimental subjects were also released by them. It may be caused by the failure of the experiment. Mu-Yun took her to chat as she walked, dragging a heavy black coffin in her hand, and soon came to the core area of the experimental base. The mutant beasts and experimental subjects that appeared along the way were killed by Mu-Yun casually. Eri followed behind Mu-Yun, and a strong sense of security emerged. She had never seen such a tough man. The West has a very strong Mu-Yang complex. Such a person makes her feel affectionate. If it weren't for the conditions, Eri would definitely choose to force Mu-Yun. The two passed through a long passage, and a huge metal door appeared in front of the two. Nyan power started. Mu-Yun raised his hand, and the metal gate slowly rose. This is Lab 2? Mu-Yun's eyebrows raised slightly, and he stepped into it. The lab is spacious, and filled with densely packed instruments, as well as a large number of petri dishes. But at this moment, it has all been destroyed, and the ground is full of bloody corpses. It's a pity for these devices. Mu-Yun muttered, his gaze sweeping around. A huge hole was knocked out of the lab's head, which seemed to be caused by some kind of massive monster. A large number of experimental subjects have fled through the large hole, and only a dozen hideous mice are eating the corpses of researchers on the ground. It can be said that Feng Shui takes turns. After solving it casually, Eri pointed to a laboratory directly in front of her and said, "That's the real lab number 2. Following the other party's point, Mu-Yun could feel some kind of energy fluctuation coming from the room. Killing, death, chaos, hatred. Countless negative emotions were mixed in, making Mu-Yun's brows furrow. Although his mental power is very strong, it is still inevitable that there will be some discomfort. Taking a deep breath and clearing out the complicated emotions in his mind, Mu-Yun walked towards the laboratory. Eri hurriedly followed behind Mu-Yun, looking afraid of falling behind. Strange, why are you alright? What? Eri is just an ordinary person at the moment, but because she used to be a superpower, her physique is 10 times higher than that of ordinary people. You can't feel this special mental fluctuation at all. Seeing that she looked dazed, and did not seem to be faking, Mu-Yun was also stunned. Nothing. After all, she also turned on the gene lock, although she is now in a semi-collapsed state, probably because of this. Mu-Yun thought so. No longer staying, Mu-Yun went straight to open the door of the mysterious number 2 laboratory. Click. As soon as the gate was opened, Mu-Yun's pupils instantly contracted, and he abruptly dodged to the right. At the same time, he reached out with his left hand, and pulled Eri to the side to dodge. Boom in the loud noise, a bloody tentacle slammed into the position where the two had just stood, and suddenly stirred up a puff of dust. It's so risky. Eri breathed in relief. Fortunately, Mu-Yun pulled her away just now, otherwise it would definitely be enough for 2 people to drink a pot. You hide behind the black coffin. I'll go in and take a look. Mu Yun turned around and instructed, put down the black coffin, and then walked inside. What came into view was a huge ball of disgusting meat. The ball of flesh is like a heart. Every few seconds, it will bulge and emit some kind of mental fluctuations. Kill me. Pain. And I'm not willing. A strange creature struggles, wails, and cries for help, but cannot escape the confinement of the flesh ball. At the back of the head of these creatures, there is a blood vessel connected to the meat ball. They continue to devour the life force of these creatures, causing them to age and die rapidly, and then being devoured by meatballs, turning them into nutrients, and supplying them to meatballs. The sight is extremely penetrating. These people are not completely dead, and their consciousness is very clear. But because of this, it is even more cruel. The pain cannot make them unconscious, and they can only choose to bear it passively. They twist their bodies desperately, open their teeth and dance their claws, and their expressions are hideous. "Steven?" Mu Yun called out in a low voice. "Yes, it's you. Damn it." A staccato voice came from the mouth of a creature. As for why it is only used to describe it, it is because these people can no longer be considered humanoid creatures. At this moment, Steven's limbs had turned into flesh and blood tentacles, wriggling on the ground like an octopus. And his cheeks are like melted ice cream cubes, sticky together, and even a lot of mucus dripping, which is daunting. "You." Mu Yun squinted his eyes. "You are actually alive. I'm Steven Rogers. Save me. I found the code to open the gene lock." Steven's voice was weak, like an old man who was about to run out of oil. Glancing at the number marked on the monitor next to him, the opening progress. 98%. Mu Yun pouted disdainfully. He knew in his heart that the possibility of manually opening the gene lock was too low, and the slightest mistake would turn into a monster that was neither a person nor a ghost. It is not as reliable as having this energy to find the news of the key fruit and the sacred tree. "You first tell me where the equipment that controls the succubus is. I'll consider." After speaking, the tentacles on the meatball suddenly launched an attack on Mu Yun. The disgusting tentacles came straight to Mu Yun with a sharp sound of breaking wind. HMPH. With a sneer, Mu Yun waved his hand and threw out a few sword ki, easily smashing the tentacles. "Can't hit me, can't you get angry?" Mu Yun shouted defiantly. The next moment, the severed tentacles instantly grew out and struck again. Mu Yun's figure was ethereal, and he dodged flexibly. "Steven, you only have 10 minutes to think about it, and in 10 minutes I will blow up this base and let you die with this monster." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 264. Mu Yun calmly dodged the tentacles attack. He knew that Steven definitely didn't want to die, and he had no choice. "Well." After a moment of silence, Steven agreed. Then, his body twisted, like an octopus brother, and two tentacles stood up. Immediately fumbled in the pocket of his white coat, and pulled out a key. "This is the key. The control core is in laboratory 1. A key with a viscous liquid flung over, and Mu Yun Qiang took it with nausea. "Thank you. I'll go make sure, and if it's okay, I'll be back in 5 minutes. You better hurry. I won't last long." Mu Yun did not respond, left the laboratory with the teleportation, and casually closed the metal door. As soon as he came out, he found out what Araya was operating on a working instrument. "What are you doing?" "I'm looking for experimental data from subject 2. Araya didn't lift her head. "It's very important to repair my gene strand." "So that's the case. By the way, make a copy of the experimental data here." "No problem, darling." Is this title appropriate?" "What's wrong, dear?" "Well, in Araya's concept, the understanding of this title seems to be different from Mu Yun. It's nothing. Just be happy. How to go to lab 1? Turn left when you go out. Next door. Then you keep busy." Mu Yun waved his hand and dragged the black coffin to laboratory number 1. The layout of laboratory number 1 was similar to that of number 2, and Mu Yun went straight to the innermost room. Inside, there is an empty culture tank, and a 3D ghost of the succubus is displayed on the screen next to it, as well as various data. In addition, the most central device has a keyhole. Obviously, this is the instrument used to manipulate the chip in the mind of the succubus queen. Without hesitation, Muyun inserted the key into it. Identity confirmation. Open the command module. With the sound of cold machinery, the instrument began to operate. All Muyun wanted was to lift Steven's previous order and put the demon queen into standby mode. Fortunately, Muyun's English level is good, otherwise he doesn't even know how to operate the instrument. The moment the standby command was pressed, the figure of the demon queen in the black coffin was stunned, and she immediately fell into a deep sleep. The sound of bombarding the black coffin stopped abruptly. Yossi, it seems that Steven didn't lie to me. Muyun carefully unlocked the iron lock, and then opened a corner of the black coffin. The queen of the demon is lying quietly in the iron coffin. Her chest is slightly heaving, her eyes are closed, and she looks like she is asleep. I don't know if Linuxin's ability can control this guy. The strength of the succubus family made Muyun very moved. But it is not easy to subdue the queen of succubus. The control chip implanted by Steven may still be able to calm the other party now, maybe later. Otherwise, the succubus queen in the previous life would not have escaped the control of the Umbrella Company. Speaking of, our absolute realm is so awesome. Can we replicate Linuxin's Imperial Beast ability? Muyun touched his chin and thought for a minute. When Yihanayu wakes up and finds her to study together, the demon queen wants to do this for the time being. The problem was too complicated, and Muyun decided to leave it to a more professional person to think. So he closed the coffin again, firmly fixed the chain, and put it into the small world. By the way, the device that controls the chip was also removed and taken away. After doing this, Muyun suddenly thought of something. I rely on Laoti's Edu's materials. Laoti's Edu's animals and plants don't be given to HUO. Thinking about it, Muyun hurriedly rushed to the warehouse area. As for Steven and the big meatball or something, to hell with it. All the way to the wind. Soon Muyun rushed to the warehouse area. What catches your eye is a mountain of metal materials. It's risky, but fortunately it's relatively hidden here and hasn't been affected much. With a long breath, Muyun did not talk nonsense. The field was expanded, and all the massive materials were collected into the small world. And the small warehouse for storing special metals was not spared. Immediately afterwards, he went to the planting area next door, where the staff were affected by the mental attack and killed each other. The various plants in the growing area are also well preserved. Draw the scoop according to the grid, and take it all away. There were also some separate cultivation rooms, and a large number of precious herbs planted were also collected by Muyun along with the stone soil. Leave one more grain of soil, and I will lose today. Muyun put down his cruel words, and rushed to another place. In the farming area, each glass cover is a microbiosphere. There are a large number of exotic beasts living inside, all of which are rare animals. Perhaps these are also the reasons for the experimental subjects, and the variety is particularly complete. This time, Muyun lifted it together with the land, took it away. Since it is a 0 yuan purchase, it must be implemented to the end. In the surrounding areas, everything with some value was all cleaned up by Muyun. From the original hardcover room straight to blank. The allusion to plucking the goose feathers played out vividly on him. Okay, then there's the ingredients area. Thinking of those pig people, Muyun's stomach surged. Forget it, good people do it to the end, give them a relief. Back in the food area, thousands of expressionless, hollow, and numb pig people were fixed in place. Even spiritual attacks could not awaken their minds. Muyun gave them a pain. Just as he was about to leave, a familiar figure came into view. Why is this guy here? Seeing clearly who was coming, Muyun's brows furrowed. In the corner of the room, a Western man in a priest's costume was shaking his ass, still muttering in his mouth, Amitabha. Hey, aren't you a believer in light? Why do you still worship Buddha? Muyun complained speechlessly. Don't kill me, don't kill me, I was wrong. Spare me. The priest crackled, said a lot of strange things, and his eyes seemed to see an extremely frightened picture. The yellow and white on the ground flowed all over the place. This is, lose your marbles. Mu Yun squatted down and slapped the priest's cheek a few times. Hey, wake up. If you don't wake up, I'll really slaughter you. No, don't kill me. It's not that I'm going to eat you. I'm a part-time worker. Woohoo, mom, cried the priest, snot and tears all over his face. Yes, it's crazy. Mu Yun looked disgusted, stood up, and prepared to leave. It's a pity for such a rare healing ability. Huh. Mu Yun didn't think right. Then his eyes rolled and he grinned, looking like a profiteer. You're crazy anyway. This power won't be used in the future. I'll accept it for you to more useful people. It can be regarded as giving you merit. Saying that, Mu Yun's hand lit up with a black halo and grabbed the priest's forehead. The plundering effect is launched. A colorful ball of light suddenly came out, and Mu Yun didn't know how long this light could exist. Anyway, what comes from the white can be kept the best. If it dissipates, it should be an experimental skill effect. Chapter 265. Throwing the light mass into the small world, Mu Yun ignored it and walked straight towards the next destination. Along the way, as long as it was valuable, it was acquired by Mu Yun. Even those safety gates were not spared. Although his small world contains tens of millions of tons of metal materials, it also contains a large number of rare alloys. It seemed like a lot. It could be used to build a base city made of steel. The consumption rate was extremely exaggerated, and he didn't know if he had enough material in his hand. It is rare to meet a fat sheep, and I can do it a little more. The safety gate is very strong, and a large amount of precious metals are mixed with steel when forged, and Mu Yun naturally will not let go. Even the floor, ceiling, surrounding walls, everything that could be removed, was removed by him. After collecting these basic materials, Mu Yun walked towards the warehouse where the spiritual energy crystal nuclei were stored. Of course, there was also a weapon depot. Just now are small scenes. This is the main thing. In the base city of Norda, the reserve of crystal nuclei is absolutely immeasurable. Before, he had insufficient authority to infiltrate, and now the base is completely in chaos, and no one cares about him at all. Soon, Mu Yun found the psionic energy warehouse. The warehouse was sealed by a heavy metal gate, and even powerful mutant beasts would have to work hard to break in. But in front of Mu Yun, it was as fragile as paper paste, and it was easily broken. Inside the warehouse, various crystal nuclei are placed in a dense and neat arrangement, which is daunting. Mu Yun was ecstatic in his heart, and he picked up a fist-sized 8th-order crystal nucleus and carefully examined it. Hahaha, get rich. This time it's really a profit. Mu Yun was excited and collected all the crystal nuclei in the warehouse into the small world. Wait until you have time later, and then count slowly. After this wave, Mu Yun estimated that it would be converted into at least hundreds of millions of points. Not only that, there were also a large number of devil fruits in the glass cover in the center of the warehouse, and even several special demon fruits. This umbrella company is also too rich, and I have to go to the headquarters to visit the headquarters when I have the opportunity in the future. Mu Yun muttered twice, got out of the warehouse through another door, and continued to search. The arsenal is stocked with a large number of firearms. These are not ordinary firearms, most of them are high-tech products. Laser swords, electromagnetic rifles, particle cannons, miniature missiles. The smile on Mu Yun's face became stronger, and he couldn't help but let out a strange laugh as he swept the arsenal away. Knock. A strong heartbeat sounded suddenly along with a special rhythm, shaking Mu Yun's eardrums and making him tremble. Knock. Knock. The sound of the heart beating endlessly, constantly spreading into the base. The survivors, who had been fighting each other, immediately stopped fighting after hearing this agitation, and looked up at the center of the base. Each person's face was expressionless, as if they had lost their souls, and they all converged towards the place where the meatball was. Mu Yun was also stunned. What is the situation? Could it be that something has happened to the big meatball? Mu Yun guessed in his heart, but his pace couldn't help but speed up, and he rushed towards laboratory number 2. Almost instantly, Mu Yun came to the door of the laboratory. Eri had already copied the data and stuffed the USB flash drive into the Twin Peaks and came to Mu Yun's side. Dear Trump, I'm done here. What's next? Do you want to get out of here? Mu-Yun nodded. Yes, but there is no hurry. I want to see what this number 2 experimental body wants to do. As he spoke, Mu-Yun waved his hand and took away the equipment in the laboratory. Although most of them have been damaged, it should not be difficult to repair them with the techniques of Jiangming and Emolin. After doing this, Mu-Yun pried down the door of the laboratory. In the laboratory, the size of the big meatball became a little bigger, occupying almost the entire laboratory. Countless flesh and blood tentacles danced randomly in midair, as if they wanted to grab something. Steven and those researchers have disappeared at this moment, and it is likely that they have been completely swallowed by the big meatball. Under the call of the big meatball, countless survivors were like walking dead, quietly following the passage to the door of the laboratory. The moment they saw the meatball, their eyes re-radiated, and with a feverish look on their faces, they rushed towards the big meatball desperately. Henry, I knew you were okay. I'm coming. God hasn't given up on me yet. Mom, don't leave me. Mu-Yun dragged Araya to the side and silently watched everything. The hideous big ball of meat incarnated as the person they most longed for appeared in the eyes of these people. Under its allure, these survivors have fallen into madness and embraced the big meatball. However, what awaits them are the countless tentacles sticking out of large balls of meat. Flesh and blood tentacles easily inserted into the minds of these people, greedily sucking their blood and extracting fragments of memories deep in their minds. Of course, the most important thing is the supernatural crystal nuclei in their minds. Mu-Yun watched all this indifferently, did not stop it, and let the big meatball act recklessly. With more and more survivors coming, the lab has no place to stay. Trump, or let's run away now. Araya nervously tugged on Mu-Yun's arm, afraid that Mu-Yun would get rid of it. Mu-Yun gently bowed his head and pulled Araya to teleport above the surface. Yay! Araya exclaimed and subconsciously hugged Mu-Yun's neck. What are you doing? Mu-Yun asked. Araya's pretty face turned crimson and she whispered, no, nothing, it's just, I'm a little afraid of heights. Sister, your contrast is too great. One moment is a beautiful girl, the next is a cold female scientist, and now she has become the little sister of little bird Yaron. Could it be that you are a split personality? It's not. Araya was extremely embarrassed. I'm just afraid. Seeing her appearance, Mu-Yun didn't bother to ask. So, when does the younger brother like the way his sister looks? My brother likes it, and my sister has it. Araya, who gradually recovered, wrapped around Mu-Yun like an octopus, and her chest constantly rubbed against Mu-Yun's chest, making Mu-Yun embarrassed for a while. I'll leave you down if I move again, Mu-Yun threatened. Araya pouted, not daring to make any more trouble. Boom. There was a loud noise, a violent explosion in the laboratory, and countless dust splashes. The size of the flesh sphere, which had absorbed a lot of energy, skyrocketed again, and the laboratory could no longer accommodate its body. I saw the meatball waving its tentacles and slowly coming out of the ground. The ripples of the spiritual attack spread with the sound of a violent heartbeat. More and more survivors rushed towards the balls of flesh in front of the minaret, scrambling to die. Oops. Araya, who was in her arms, suddenly let out an exclamation. Don't be surprised. What's wrong? Mu-Yun frowned and asked. Chapter 266. Araya's face was pale, as if she was enduring extremely severe pain, and beads of sweat appeared from her forehead. The effect of the inhibitor is over, and my gene chain is showing signs of collapsing. Her tone was flustered, and she pulled Mu-Yun tightly. Don't worry, where is the potion library? I'll take you there. Mu-Yun comforted. Nodding, Araya pointed somewhere. When Mu-Yun quickly came to the apothecary with Araya, he found that this was right next to the arsenal. I walked in a hurry before, and I didn't care. Araya injured the desire to devour in her body, slowly took out a medicine from the freezer, and injected it into the carotid artery in her neck. The kind of potion that temporarily enhances the abilities of the supernatural should also be stored here, right? Mu-Yun pondered secretly. Soon, Araya opened the safe and took out 2 bottles of inhibitory potions and stuffed them into her chest. Mu-Yun was a little speechless after seeing it. Are you a kangaroo? It's not a pocket, it's all in it. HMPH, it's safe to put it here. Araya snorted. 2 flushes appeared on her cheeks. Mu-Yun was speechless and shook his head. There are plenty of glass freezers filled with a variety of potions. Do you know all these potions? Araya said with some pride when she heard this. Of course, most of this is prepared by me. Oh, I can't see it. What kind of look are you? I'm also a genius doctor in the field of biogenetics. Hearing Araya praise herself, Mu-Yun couldn't help but grin. Not bad, not bad. There is another migrant worker at the base. He scanned the circle and collected all the potions in the potions library into the small world. In order to ensure that the potion could be properly stored, Mu-Yun put it into the space where the time stopped, used to store the food with the expiration date, and isolated it separately. Araya had already seen Mu-Yun's means of storing things, but she knew that some things she didn't know and lived longer than she knew. Is there anything valuable in the base? Araya thought for a moment. Have you gone to the energy center? You mean gasoline and fuel? What age is this? Who still uses gasoline? Either nuclear energy or hydrogen energy? Araya pouted. Even the spiritual energy is half developed. Poverty limited Mu-Yun's imagination. He was scorned by Araya. But these don't matter. Soon, these energy Mu-Yun will also have. Araya took Mu-Yun deep underground. The energy core room is at the bottom, hidden in seclusion. But don't get your hopes up. The base's power system has collapsed, and it is estimated that the power system has failed. Araya said with a wry smile. That's not necessarily. Go and see. Mu-Yun insisted. The two chatted as they walked, completely forgetting the existence of the big meatball. Perhaps because the attack method of the meatball has no effect on the two, the sense of existence is particularly weak. That is, these two people, in other ordinary 7th and 8th order powers, were defenseless, and the spiritual attack of the flesh ball was enough to plunge the other party into chaos. Those with poor willpower may be controlled on the spot. After a while, the two arrived at the energy core room at the bottom of the base. The walls around the energy room are covered with complex electronic devices, dense like spider webs. The energy system has indeed been damaged, and the bodies of several staff members have been entangled in various electrical wires, and have been baked to maturity by high voltage electricity. There were only a few pipelines left in the entire energy room, and an old piece of equipment was still working, and the rest were all paralyzed and unusable. It's unlucky. Araya frowned and sighed. Such a huge treasure house, but she could only watch it slowly die. It's lucky not to explode directly. Mu-Yun shrugged and didn't care too much. Where is the psionic energy conversion device you mentioned? I'm quite interested in that. Araya was slightly stunned and immediately reacted. It turns out that you came for this. Nonsense. Take a long-term view and open the pattern. Okay, you are awesome. Come with me. Araya tapped lightly on the wall, and then a metal plate moved away, revealing a dark tunnel. Along the yarn road, there are densely packed surveillance cameras on both sides, but because they have been scrapped, they cannot be activated, so no one comes to check them. Inside is a large workshop with a wide range of machines and instruments. In the middle is a white spherical device more than 2 meters high, which is a bit like an enlarged version of a Pokeball. The ball is ajar, with a large number of strange patterns depicted inside, and at the core is a supernatural crystal nucleus. This is the psionic energy conversion device, which is still in the research and development stage. Araya introduced. According to the experimental data sent by the headquarters, the key to the ability to release various attributes of the energy crystal nucleus in the mind of the abnormal energy is the special pattern inside the energy crystal nucleus. You can think of the energy crystal nucleus as some kind of conversion device, which is more appropriately similar to the automatic assembly line of a factory. The raw materials are put into the assembly line, and after precise processing, the finished product is obtained. Spiritual energy is the same. It is processed by the special energy crystal nucleus, and finally becomes a variety of abilities. Mu-Yun touched his chin and thought thoughtfully. In this way, a fire system energy crystal nucleus is equivalent to a small flame furnace, and the spiritual energy is only used as fuel. In the same way, the energy crystal nucleus of the thunder system is a generator, the water system is the water dispenser, the soil system is the stone maker, and the wood system is the wood machine. Araya's eyes widened in surprise. You even know this. It's just a little bit of knowledge. It's not unusual knowledge. Yun smiled. He had studied physics knowledge in Yihan Ayu's hands for a few weeks, and this kind of problem was not difficult to understand. Each machine has a different power and produces different amounts of energy and energy. Even if it is a 10th order special energy crystal nucleus, if you want to support the daily energy consumption of a base, the spiritual energy consumed is still massive. For what Araya said, Yun agreed. Just like base issue, the King of Lightning, releasing his own electric energy at full power may be able to maintain the daily consumption of the base. But after less than 3 or 4 hours, the spiritual energy in the body was exhausted. After that, it can only rely on constantly absorbing spiritual energy crystal nuclei to continue to maintain the output. The crystal nuclei consumed are definitely a terrifying number, which is not as convenient as continuing to use gasoline and diesel to generate electricity, and the gains outweigh the losses. That's not right. Yun suddenly reacted. Laotzu has a spirit crystal vein. Laotzu is now a rich man. Can he still consume this bit? Collect it first, then talk about it. Go back and study it slowly. Chapter 267. Yun smiled, and as soon as he stretched out his hand, he put away the half-finished spirit energy core. Looking at Yun, who looked like a profiteer, Araya rolled her eyes on the side. Okay, Araya, is there anything else valuable? Don't you want a hydrogen energy reactor outside? I'm afraid I'll blow up as soon as I do it. Just be on the safe side. Now I have a better one. Yun was very confident about Imolin and Jiangming's technology, and the spirit energy core conversion device would definitely be able to be created. With spiritual power generation, what hydrogen energy, nuclear energy, he can no longer look at. It's just that bold. Then there really is nothing worthwhile. It has already been polished by you. Really? Yun looked regretful. This year, money is not easy to earn. Araya shrugged. No, the base of the minaret has been uprooted by you, and now there is a lonely minaret. Uproot. Good idea. Yun's eyes suddenly lit up. Even by cab, you don't want to. The corners of Yun's mouth raised slightly, revealing an evil and awe-inspiring smile. Boom. With a wave of shaking, the 1,000-meter high minaret was slowly uprooted. Boulders tumbled from the top and smashed into the ground. Yun stood in front of the minaret, indifferent and ruthless, and waved his sleeves. In an instant, the towering minaret suddenly disappeared. Yun chuckled twice and clapped his hands in satisfaction. Araya followed him, speechless for a while. You are so powerful, you simply collected the entire base together. She really couldn't help but complain. I also thought, the space can't be stuffed. Araya. Although Yun's space is the size of a province, it already stores too many things. The mountains and rivers in the small world will take up his space, and it is really difficult to install a vein into it when you turn back. Otherwise, Yun would definitely accept it all, and moving back would be a ready-made base, so why not? Knock. The sound of the heart beating is particularly abrupt on a quiet night. Inside the base, with the light of the sky piercing fire, Yun could see it. The size of the big meatball skyrocketed again, and it was already as tall as 4 or 5 floors. Dense tentacles connect countless humans. They were in the same state as Steven at the time, starting to melt like melted popsicles, little by little into the big meatballs. Garland the big meatball devoured one life after another. The powerful energy fluctuations made the entire base shake violently, and a large number of buildings began to collapse. Yun could feel that some extremely terrifying existence was being bred in the flesh sphere. This guy's going to transform. His expression grew serious. The huge energy stirred in its body, as all the flesh and blood in the base were devoured by it. The momentum emanating from the flesh ball reached its peak. Boom. The powerful heartbeat sounded in the sky, as if a series of muffled thunder exploded in the ears. Immediately afterwards, a majestic coercion like the sea suddenly broke out. In an instant, Yun felt an extremely powerful aura lock on him. Bang bang. The heart beat violently, as if the long sleeping star had been revived. The size of the big meatball did not increase but decreased, but began to shrink sharply. Dear Mr. Trump, let's either withdraw first. Araya said with a worried look. The large meatball gave her a feeling of extreme danger, but also felt a trace of kindness. Speaking of which, Araya is also the sister of Big Meatball. After all, she is the #1 experimental subject, and Big Meatball is #2. She was curious about the final outcome of Subject 2. Perhaps, without the suppression of the elixir, she will also become a monster like the meatball in front of her. The monster's final end may be her own end. But now is not the time to pay attention to the ending. She is more concerned about how to survive now than the results of the experiment. Don't worry, I seem to understand this guy's operation. What? Mu-Yun's unexplained words made Araya a little confused. Reacquaintance, my name is Mu-Yun, and I'm your future boss. He did not rush to answer Araya's doubts, but lifted the disguise on his face. Oh, my god. Araya covered her chest and exclaimed. Her eyes widened. Don't be so surprised. Your current state can't survive in the apocalypse alone. Just change a boss and continue to cooperate. How about? Interested? Araya blinked her eyes a few times. No interest, but sexual interest. You look better now. Speak as you speak. Don't touch your hands. Mu-Yun slapped off the salty pig claw that Araya stretched out. Ahem. Sorry. Get used to it. Coughing twice, Araya withdrew her paws in embarrassment. Whatever you say. Anyway, the inhibitory potion is all on you. In order to survive, I can only obey you. My dear boss, did you say yes? After that, she didn't forget to throw a wink at Mu-Yun. Your personality switched so quickly. It's all about survival. Mu-Yun did not continue this non-nutritious topic and returned to the question just now. I think Annie, the second subject, may still have consciousness, or it may be possible to gain new consciousness and become another life. The current practice of meatballs seems to be devouring energy, but it is actually to use normal human genes to fill their own incomplete gene chains. Why do you say that? Araya asked curiously. It's simple. Mu-Yun spread his hands. You think carefully about your symptoms. Her thirst for flesh and blood, and your thirst for blood. These two symptoms illustrate a problem. What you lack is not energy, but material that can complete the complete gene chain. Araya suddenly realized, it sounds like something. This is just my speculation. There is no experimental basis, so I want to see the final outcome of Annie. If her consciousness can be preserved intact, it means. Araya preemptively said, if she retains consciousness, then I can also achieve metamorphosis in this way and repair my broken genetic chain. That's right. Mu-Yun nodded appreciatively. So wait and see. Araya fell silent. She didn't expect that the man in front of her actually had such keen observation. And he thought so much about himself. Such a man it's hard to refuse. Her gaze became confused, and her expression carried a touch of love. Thank you. Araya said sincerely. Mu-Yun was full of question marks. This woman couldn't have misunderstood something, right? I just felt a little distressed by the use of inhibitors all the time, thinking that if there was a radical cure, I could save a lot of resources. By the way, there can be one more thug, why not? But in the eyes of the other party, it seems that this meaning has changed. Nothing makes me the boss. Ahaha. Araya concealed a chuckle. Well, don't worry, boss, I will do it well in the future. Chapter 268. This tone, this attitude, no matter how you hear it, I feel malicious. Without waiting for Mu-Yun to say anything, Araya suddenly looked down at the big meatball below with a solemn expression. There are cases, it is going to advance. When Mu-Yun heard this, he immediately turned to look. Boom. The originally bland ball of meat suddenly bloomed into a dazzling blood red glow, and a huge attraction gathered the surrounding energy. The disgusting flesh and blood gradually began to fade, and a large amount of black viscous liquid continued to flow out. Could it be that it is removing the remaining impurities from the body? Mu-Yun muttered. The appearance of this scene verified the possibility he had just inferred. This was a benign development, and there was no chaos. Whoops. Loud beating sounds are becoming more and more frequent. The huge balls of meat like a hill began to shrink sharply, and under the night sky, dark clouds formed a funnel shaped, wrapping the surrounding spiritual energy and pouring down. The wriggling flesh and blood disappeared, and in its place was a transparent crystal giant egg, suspended in mid-air, releasing rich and pure spiritual fluctuations. It is diametrically opposed to the previous negative mental forces such as chaos, evil, and desire. The spiritual fluctuations of this moment release a holiness, peace, and gentle radiance. It's an indescribably wonderful feeling. Mu-yeon couldn't help but take a deep breath. Could it be that the gene lock was successfully opened? Araya looked excited. Very likely. If Anne is able to evolve and have previous memories, it means that she can evolve in this way. The dome is 2 meters tall, and its surface is shiny white crystal clear, like carved crystal, full of life. In the dome is a human shell, with long white hair hanging down to the waist, and beautiful and attractive curves outline the graceful figure. White-haired Lali? Not Annie. Mu-yeon carefully examined it for a moment, and confirmed one thing. How could it be? It turned out to be a new life form. Araya's face was full of disappointment. Since the final result is not Annie, this means that, if she evolves in this way, eventually her own consciousness will be erased, and a new life form will be born. Araya will also die completely, because of the loss of consciousness. Just when the two were puzzled, the abnormality reappeared. Click. The surface of the crystal clear dome was densely cracked, and then it cracked, revealing a delicate girl's face. Woo, the breeze blew, the girl slowly opened her eyes, her snow white hair flew wantonly, and her golden pupils shone with brilliant silver white, as if she could see through everything, and as if she could see through all the secrets of the world. Everything seems so real that it's addictive. Boom. A pair of holy wings stretched out violently, driving the girl to float into the air. The girl who washed away the lead was like an angel descending, and she was breathtakingly beautiful. Endless evil thoughts have been completely eliminated from the body, and all that remains is purity. Not stained, but cold. Mu-yeon looked at the white-haired Lali in front of him stunnedly, confirmed his eyes, did not know, had never seen it in his previous life. The girl floated in mid-air, looking around, her eyes showing a bit of desertness. Immediately afterwards, the girl's gaze fell on Mu-yeon and Araya. You guys. Who is it? A cold voice sounded. The girl's voice was cold, but it gave people a warmth like a spring breeze. My name is Mu-yeon, it's your father. Could Araya make a face? The other party looks only 13 or 14 years old. You cheat all children. Are you still human? Dad? The girl tilted her head and looked at Mu-yeon. In his eyes, which did not have any emotional fluctuations, there was a trace of doubt. Good daddy take you home. Mu-yeon chuckled and reached out to touch the girl. The girl frowned, leaned sideways to dodge, and her eyes became even more puzzled. You're not. Flapped his holy white wings. Who is it? The girl flew towards Araya. You. Hurt. The girl blinked, as if trying to determine something. Araya's pupils shrank, and she knew that the girl in front of her meant the collapse of the gene chain when she said that the injury was referring to. Do you have a way to help me? The girl did not speak, but clasped her hands together, as if praying religiously. Immediately afterwards, a holy white light burst out from her, and the light converged to illuminate the entire base. This amazing scene is like a miracle. This is a special line. For the situation of the girl in front of him, Mu-yeon did not have a clue. But this divine light reminded him of the priests before him. His powers seem to be like this, and those who don't know think that they are under the heavenly gods. After thinking about it, Mu-yeon took out the colorful light mass obtained from the priest. The next moment, the girl with her eyes closed seemed to perceive something. Beckoning to the colorful light group, the light mass did not enter the girl's delicate body and merged with it. Immediately, the light on the girl's body was more intense, but there was also a slight difference. It seems that the taste of divinity is a little stronger. The rays converged and gradually condensed into an illusory angelic palm. The angel's palm pressed to Araya, and she subconsciously resisted it with both hands. As a result, the palm of the hand passed directly through the body and quickly submerged between Araya's chest and abdomen. A feeling of clarity welled up throughout Araya's body, and she felt that she was completely relaxed, and her bloodthirsty desire gradually weakened. The gene chain suppressed by the inhibitory agent in the body slowly calmed down. Restored. Araya was pleasantly surprised. Aha. Mu-yeon's nose twitched twice. Why do I smell the sour smell? Araya looked down and found that there was actually a lot of sticky things oozing from the surface of her skin. The evolution of life should not be suppressed. This violates the laws of the universe. Clear. The girl whispered, and the indifference in her eyes instantly turned to a blazing brilliance. Purify. Poof. Aria's clothes were scattered, and the two inhibitors in her chest and the USB flash drive that kept important data fell off one after another, because there was no support. Mu-Yun's eyes were quick, and he pocketed these. Soon, the filth in Aria's body quickly left her body, and was purified by the holy light. The collapsed gene chain is quickly repaired, and the original supernatural energy returns to the body. It was as if he had returned to before becoming the #1 experimental subject, back to the state of a normal human being. The light dissipated, leaving only two white ketone bodies floating in the void above the sky and Comrade Mu-Yun, who looked at the two carefully with an eye of appreciating art. Not bad. This bullfrog with a purification effect has even repaired the membrane, which is absolutely incredible. Mu-Yun was amazed, and full of emotion. Chapter 269. Under the dim night sky, the cold wind howled. Aria was stunned for a moment before reacting, looking at the unobstructed body, and suddenly her face was as red as a cloud. The white-haired lily can also cover the beautiful ketone body with long hair and wings, but Aria is completely exposed to the vision of the big colored wolf. Are there clothes? Aria, who is back to normal, is as shy as a kitten and very cute. Yes, but are you sure you want to wear it? Mu-Yun remembered that he had hoarded a lot of costumes before, and his heart was full of evil taste. At this moment, Aria had no other choice. Give it to me, and I'll wear it. Okay then, you wait. Mu-Yun nodded, took out a few clothes from the carry-on space, and put them in front of Aria. Oh, that's all. Mu-Yun shrugged. Black bunny girl. Lace princess dress. Aria. Don't rub it, change it quickly, and it is estimated that it will catch a cold later. There was no way. Aria could only endure shame and put on her clothes. The angel girl tilted her head and seemed to be interested in this strange costume. Mu-Yun, can you also give me a set? For such a request, Mu-Yun naturally had no reason to refuse, so he threw a piece of dead reservoir water to the girl. The white-haired lily angel with dead reservoir water. What a lying groove. By the way, Mu-Yun also took out two black headbands and tied two double ponytails for the girl. Dead reservoir water plus dome girl plus angel equals? Live together. LSP. Aria, who was already dressed, took a sip angrily. Kyung Mei tilted her head. What is an LSP? Ahem. Nothing. Coughing twice, Mu-Yun pulled away from the topic. Don't be stunned. Go down and find a place to talk again. Although most of the minaret base has been destroyed, some of the buildings have survived. The three of them found a well-preserved cafe and sat down. Mu-Yun first looked at Aria. How are you feeling now? For the ability of the firmament sister, Mu-Yun is still very interested. I thought that the big meatball would eventually give birth to a monster, and then fight a big fight. Unexpectedly, a white-haired lily angel was born in the end, and I can only fight again in the future. Aria paused for a moment and sorted out her thoughts. I feel that the genetic strand has been completely restored. The original water system power has also returned, and it has become a fourth order water system power again. Speaking of this, she paused slightly. It's just that the gene lock that was originally turned on has been closed. As the #1 subject, Aria had eaten a key fruit before and opened a certain shackle. When the umbrella company tried to forcibly open other gene locks, it failed, causing the gene chain to collapse. Mu-Yun nodded when he heard this. This is also good. You can save the resources to make inhibitory potions. I think so too. Aria laughed happily. Subsequently, the two set their sights on the white-haired lily. Mu-Yun was the first to speak. What are we going to call you? Do you have a name? Or are there memories of the past? The white-haired lily pondered for a moment and shook her head. I don't know. I don't have any memories. Open your eyes and I'm here. Oh. This way. That should be easy to deceive. What you were capable of just now. Is it a superpower? Aria also asked her doubts. The umbrella company studied such a problem of the collapse of the gene chain, and the girl in front of her was easily solved. The key opponent is still made by the umbrella company. Her body is full of mysteries, too mysterious to guess. Psychic? The girl thought thoughtfully. What? Is it a power? Aria opened her mouth, suddenly not knowing how to explain it to her. The power is, the girl is like a blank piece of paper, knowing nothing about the world. In addition to being able to talk and communicate, he is simply like a 3-year-old child. It took a lot of effort for Eraya and Muyun to teach her a lot about this world. I'm not using superpowers. The girl corrected Eraya's mistake, but the power of God. God? Is there a God in this world? If others heard this, they might think that the girl's brain was not normal, but Muyun believed it. When Chuantian awakened before, the woman who suddenly appeared, and Coco awakened, and the ball of light that suddenly appeared. These unheard of things are probably the so-called gods in the girl's mouth. It's just that the name is different, and God may be a code name. In the girl's cognition, her power comes from an omnipotent being. And the god in Blue Star mythology is also omnipotent. Therefore, that being is equal to God, and the power of that being is equal to the power of God. The above are all Muyun's conjectures, and he estimates that 8 or 9 are not far from 10. As a result, in the face of Muyun's question, the girl replied lightly, "Nope." Muyun said. Muyun now wanted to slap himself twice, but since no one stopped him like Teacher Luo, he chose to give up. God is the rule, and no individual can break the rule. The girl is now like a god stick, and it is a pity not to fool the ignorant believers. "So, how did you fix my gene strand?" Eraya asked. "I think it can be fixed, so I fixed it." The girl replied, "Of course." This explanation made Muyun and Eraya a little speechless. Muyun sighed, "We will discuss this matter later. According to the current thinking of young girls, it is too difficult to talk about this problem, and there is no point in it." Next, he changed the subject. "What's going on with the wings behind you?" "This." The girl shook her white wings. "Aren't everyone have it? Don't you have one?" Muyun. Eraya. Well, the two were speechless for a while. It's just that Muyun was curious, and stretched out his finger to poke the layer of softness. The girl gasped. Her little face flushed. "Itch." "Huh." Muyun laughed twice, and retracted his hand awkwardly. "It would be inconvenient if you didn't have a name, or I'll choose a name." The girl nodded. "Then call you." Muyun paused. "Dome." "Good. Then I'll call it the Dome from now on." The girl clapped her little hands happily. Muyun touched his nose. This was not his bad taste. The main thing is that he is a name scrap, and the girl's appearance is so similar to that of the Firmament sister. Muyun is too lazy to think about it. "I'll be yours from now on." "Ah." The girl tilted her head. "Volt's brother?" Muyun was stunned. "Also, it's not impossible. Presumably no one else will have an opinion." Chapter 270. On the side, Eraya smiled evilly, looking at Muyun's eyes strangely. "That's right." Muyun suddenly remembered something. "Just now, did you eat that colorful light mass?" Dome nodded, blinking his big eyes. "Can't you eat this?" "It's not impossible, but normal people can't have two powers, otherwise they will explode and die." "Why are you okay?" Muyun felt that it was better for him to speak clearly. After all, this was related to the safety of Kyung Mei. Hearing Muyun's concern, Kyung showed a puzzled expression. "It's okay, I think I can eat it, so I will eat it." In the face of such a wayward firmament girl, Muyun had completely given up thinking. Let her go. Anyway, she said yes. Regarding the question of the firmament, it is better to wait until you return to the Dragon Court and let Emolin study it more reliably. The affairs of the minaret base have all been dealt with, and Muyun is ready to take the two to Maple Leaf Town. The crisis of the seed tide has not yet been resolved, and he will have to hurry back to the base when the key fruit is ripe, so as not to have more accidents and long dreams at night. However, the gains from this trip are immeasurable. A succubus, an angel, a royal sister, an ingadem. The strength of the base has skyrocketed again. Thanks to the gift of the umbrella company, Muyun was ready to go to their headquarters to personally thank him. Looking at the ruins behind him, Muyun flew towards Maple Leaf Town with the two women. An underground secret base somewhere in the United States. Click. With the sound of the hatch opening, a familiar figure walked out from inside. It's only been a long time, and I woke up early. Eraya. It's kind of interesting. The man came back to his senses, took out a pair of silver-framed glasses prepared in advance, and put them on. Glancing at the other people sleeping in the sleeping cabin around him, the man stared for a few seconds before slowly leaving the room. Gene locks. Key fruit. It seems that blindly sleeping is also a disadvantage, and many opportunities will be missed. Clones are clones after all, and they can't achieve the effect I want. With a light sigh, a flash of disappointment flashed across the man's face, but it quickly disappeared. In that case, let me do it myself. Above the sky, Mu-Yun galloped rapidly, and the surrounding scenery quickly retreated. 2 or 3 hours later, the three arrived in Maple Leaf. Brother, look quickly, what a big tree. After leaving the minaret-based dome's character gradually became lively, as if divinity was suppressed by human nature, and the character of a normal human began to appear. Along the way, Mu-Yun also discovered a drawback of Kyung Mei. That is too kind, in one word to describe the so-called virgin. Whatever you see along the way, you will help. The human was chased and killed by the green slave, and she intervened to stop the green slave. Well, you can't do bad things. These are the original words of the dome to the green slave. The green slave was chased and killed by the mutant beast, and she stopped the mutant beast. Well, you can't bully people. The mutant beast was chased and killed by humans, and she stopped the human. How pitiful the mutant beast is. Well, don't hit it. That's it. The words of the firmament are like oracles. Those mutant beasts, green slaves, and humans who were preached obedient under the persuasion of the firmament, really stopped shooting, but knelt on the ground, and were moved by the firmament. It's like a demon. The brainwashing skills of pyramid schemes are not as powerful as her. However, this behavior was still severely reprimanded by Mu-Yun. It is the end times, and such a character will not go far in the end times. In the face of the reprimand, Kyung just had a cute smile like a spring breeze, nodding repeatedly, promising that it would not be in the future. Turn your head, and continue to heal more lost lambs. Mu-Yun didn't take her seriously, thinking that when he experienced the sinister beating of people's hearts in the future, he might understand. Now she is a blank piece of paper, as long as there is no danger to her life, go with her. Pointing to the maple fire saint tree in the distance, which emitted a fiery red light like a flame, Kyung looked excited. Brother, look at it, it's so beautiful. Aha, it's really good. Mu-Yun nodded in agreement. It was 2 o'clock in the morning, the sky was overcast, and it was dark all around. The light emitted by the maple fire sacred tree shines in all directions, decorating the whole world beautifully. This is the sacred tree that can bear the key fruit. Eri raised her head and looked up at the huge ancient tree, her face full of surprise. That's right, let's go. Nodding, Mu-Yun pulled the two and flew towards the maple fire holy tree. The three came to the bottom of the tree, and the dome couldn't wait to touch the huge torso of the sacred tree. I feel the divine power flowing. This is the holy tree. Dome whispered for no reason. As if in response to her words, the maple fire holy tree shook violently, emitting a brilliant brilliance. This. Mu-Yun's eyes froze. It can actually resonate with the holy tree. What is the origin of this girl? In his understanding, the existence of each sacred tree must have a profound meaning. In human evolution, the sacred tree has played a pivotal role. Mysterious sacred tree, mysterious dome sister. What kind of shackles did she open? The secrets on the dome not only did not decrease, but became more and more mysterious, and even made Mu-Yun faintly a little jealous. This girl is not simple. Huh. At this moment, Mu-Yun suddenly found that the key fruit in the center of the canopy seemed to be about to ripen. Mu-Yun, who was originally ready to mine the spirit crystal vein immediately, was not bad for this time and a half anyway, and it was not too late to act when the key fruit was ripe. However, the ingots were still in the cave below, and Mu-Yun brought the ingots up with a flash. Even Yun, is this your daughter? Are you married? Eri looked at the cute doll in Mu-Yun's arms and exclaimed. No, you think too much. Mu-Yun immediately denied the 3 consecutive companies. Babble? Yuan Bao looked at the surrounding environment with a dumb face. Babble. Yuan Bao reached out and scratched his cheek, tilting his head and muttering. You still said no. People call you dad. I'm really not her father. She's really not my daughter. I picked it up. Mu-Yun raised his forehead, a little crying and laughing. Now no matter how Mu-Yun explained it, Eri had already determined that this female doll was Mu-Yun's daughter. She didn't believe that the ingots were picked up. How could there be such a coincidence? But this is the case, and Mu-Yun is also helpless. Elemental spirit, natural choice, God is with you. Kyung hugged Mu-Yun's arm, and a pair of big eyes stared at Yuan Bao. Brother, can I hug her? Mu-Yun was slightly stunned, and then nodded. Hee. Babble? Hee. Babble? The two guys stared wide-eyed, and the ingots were very obedient in the arms of the dome, and then they nourished the water on the firmament's face. Fortunately, Kyung is a girl who is gentle to the extreme, and she has no temper at all about Yuan Bao's fooling. My name is Dome. What's your name? Elemental spirits? Dome smiled sweetly. Babbling Yuan Bao has just been born, and his language ability has not awakened. He can only babble. It's nice to be able to spit out a word or two once in a while. But how did the firmament know about the elemental spirits? Mu-Yun asked, puzzled. Elemental spirits? I don't know. I just know anyway. Well, Dome's answer was still as willful as ever. Mu-Yun was too lazy to delve into it, and turned to focus on the key fruit that was about to ripen. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 271. The darkness before dawn is always daunting, but tonight is exceptionally peaceful. When the morning sun rises, the sky turns white, and there is a unique fragrance between heaven and earth. The golden sun shines down, dispelling darkness and giving people hope. The morning breeze caresses, and the fiery red maple fire sacred tree shines against the setting sun. Dear Yun, the key fruit is ripe. Eri looked at Mu-Yun, and anxiety flashed in her eyes. Mu-Yun nodded, and a flash flew to the canopy. The fiery red key fruit exudes a dazzling glow, and strange patterns emerge from the skin of the key fruit, as if it is a mark formed by the interweaving of the laws of heaven and earth, mysterious and full of temptation. Mu-Yun stretched out his right palm, and pressed it on the key fruit. He didn't know if the sacred tree would wither after picking the key fruit, but now he couldn't care so much. Click. With the sound of the key fruit being removed, the light emitted by the maple fire holy tree gradually dimmed. The imaginary collapse did not appear, and the holy tree still stood in place, silently absorbing the huge energy in the underground spirit crystal vein. A small bud appears very abruptly in the canopy of the tree. The sacred tree has already begun to give birth to the next key fruit. Mu-Yun was overjoyed in his heart. Such a result could not be better. In this way, I can just move it away, saving me a lot of trouble. Putting the key fruit into the small world, Mu-Yun lowered his head and greeted the dome and area below. Stay away, I'll take away the holy tree. Area pulled the dome and the ingots back hundreds of meters away. Mu-Yun stepped on the void, spread his hands flat, and slowly closed them. The realm opens, and spiritual power covers every inch of the root of the sacred tree. The maple fire holy tree was only 1,000 meters tall, and Mu-Yun's domain range was completely enough to completely envelop it. Harvest in an instant, the sacred tree disappeared out of thin air. The ground leaves a huge pit, hundreds of meters deep, with a cave at the bottom clearly visible. Wow, brother, that's awesome. The dome clapped and applauded, looking adoring. It's okay. Mu-Yun, who fell from the sky, said modestly. You guys stay here and wait for me for the time being. I'll go do something, and if you are hungry, you can eat this food casually. After dropping a pile of food, Mu-Yun teleported and disappeared in place. When it reappeared, it had already come to the depths of the vein. The survival of the holy tree depends on a huge amount of spiritual energy. The most abundant part of the vein spiritual energy is used to nourish the holy tree, and the rest is also stored in the small world first. If a new sacred tree appears in the future, it can also be used in case of emergency. Mu-Yun muttered, and then his mind turned, devouring the entire central section of the vein. The maximum scope of the realm can cover a diameter of 20,000 meters, and after a day of hard work by Mu-Yun, this spirit crystal vein was cut into 9 parts by him, and included in the small world. When Mu-Yun entered the small world, this small world was already filled with rich spiritual energy. Shootin'. Mu-Yun let out a long sigh, feeling the majestic spiritual energy around him. He couldn't help but groan twice. I have to rearrange it. The small world is a bit messy now. Because a large number of animals and plants were obtained from the minaret base, the small world at this moment is already very lively. Insects and birds sing, 10,000 beasts galloping. If you don't plan well, the peaceful little world will become chaotic. Thinking of this, Mu-Yun's heart moved, the earth trembled, the soil tumbled, and mountains rose up, forming mountain ranges. The spirit crystal vein was divided into 9 segments, the most concentrated of which was buried in the center of the small world, that is, below the white mist sacred tree. The key fruit produced by the white mist holy tree is very important, and nourishing this sacred tree with mineral veins is the best policy. The remaining 8 slightly inferior veins were buried in the 8 directions of the small world, forming a pattern of 8 dragon arches, guarding the white mist sacred tree in the center. The maple fire sacred tree was placed by Mu-Yun above the sea of flowers in the west. There are relatively few animals here, which will not affect the growth of the sacred tree. With the emergence of new plants and a wave of manual birth from Mu-Yun, the small forest in the north has evolved from a small forest into a primeval forest full of greenery and singing birds. Most of the animals lived here, and Mu-Yun did not interfere much, allowing them to survive and reproduce on their own. The ecological park in the northeast has been completely unsealed by Mu-Yun. Mu-Yun found that the appearance of a large amount of spiritual energy made this heaven and earth glow with amazing vitality. There is no point in continuing to block ecosystems, and letting them develop on their own is the most appropriate course of action at the moment. All kinds of grass and trees grow wildly, even weeds have exceeded the needs of adults, and the weeds in short supply in the pigsty simply cannot be eaten. The boar did not disappoint Mu-Yun either, and worked hard. More than a dozen sows are pregnant with cubs, and the members of the page family are increasing, and the scene is thriving. The scale of chickens, ducks, and geese in the ecological park has skyrocketed several times. Chickens lay eggs, eggs give birth to chickens, and endlessly. To this end, Mu-Yun set up 3 mountains alone, and transplanted a large number of plants to let these livestock survive on the mountain by themselves. The reproductive rate of cows and sheep is relatively average, but it is also in stable breeding, but it is only a matter of time. Now Mu-Yun has removed the fence and let them gallop around the grassland like the horses. The various fish in the fish pond also reproduced very rapidly, and Mu-Yun was thrown into the Xianqi and partly into the small lake in the Sea of Flowers. Then let them fend for themselves. There are a large number of birds in the forest, and the spread of fish eggs will evolve around the world as birds prey. To the east of the small world are towering peaks and a huge heavenly pool. The clouds and mist are as ethereal and beautiful as a fairyland. The pine trees and shrubs here are excellently growing, with leafy branches and shaded canopies. There is already a trace of Huangshan. Chirp, a loud eagle cry echoed between heaven and earth. A giant eagle with snow-white body and wings on its back soars. Among the birds obtained from the minaret base, this white eagle with mutated bloodlines is the strongest one. Although he looks unusually handsome, it is a pity that he is only one, and he is destined to be single for life. The white eagle made a home on the top of this high mountain. Mu-Yun didn't say anything, let it go, as long as he didn't harm his cattle and sheep, he loved it. From the planting area of the minaret base, Mu-Yun obtained a large number of precious medicinal herbs. Ginseng, Ganoderma lucidum, deer antler velvet, Xiaowu, all kinds of rare medicinal herbs. Although the value of these things is minimal for this power-ridden apocalypse, it is not a way to eat ashes in a warehouse. Mu-Yun spread these elixirs all over the world according to their own habits. Maybe these elixirs are infected by spiritual energy and mutate, and the future can be expected. Mu-Yun looked at his masterpiece with satisfaction. The southern part of the world is the planting area planned by Mu-Yun. All kinds of vegetables, wheat, rice, corn, sweet potatoes, sorghum, potatoes, winter melons and so on. After receiving the blessing of the spirit crystal vein, the growth of these crops was amazing. Mu-Yun himself estimated that a day growing in the small world was equivalent to a month in the original world. Every week is harvest season, and the amount of food available is simply terrifying. Lao Tzu has never felt that he is so rich, and NND and Jin can have no such a terrifying effect. Chapter 272. After harvesting all the mature crops, Mu Yunmui sowed the newly obtained seedlings. At this moment, the South can no longer be described as 10,000 acres of good land, and the entire South is full of fields. At the current rate of maturity, even if the Langting base expands 100 times, the supply of grain can keep up. I don't know if the spiritual energy in the spirit crystal vein will be exhausted one day. Mu Yun looked up at the firmament and thought for a long time in his heart. Perhaps think of a way from the mutant plants brought by the green tide. Those mutated ratims can continuously swallow out spiritual energy particles, and if they can be cultivated in the small world, it is equivalent to endless spiritual energy of white. That is, the mutant plant is not well controlled, and once it spreads in the small world, it will become the second apocalypse. Mutant plants are too exclusive, and small world crops simply cannot survive. For this reason, when transplanting the maple fire holy tree in the vein, Mu Yun specially checked it, afraid that he would bring the mutated plant into the small world. Think about it or forget it, it's a big deal to continue looking for the spirit crystal vein. After confirming that there was no problem in the small world, Mu Yun glanced at the 3 blood cocoons under the white mist saint tree, and turned to leave. Not long after Mu Yun left the small world, a white figure flew in the sky. Tweet a chirp that resounded through the sky echoed throughout the sky. Immediately afterwards, the white eagle swooped down, grabbed the colorful devil fruit in the pile of fruits under the holy tree, and then flew away. By the way, he also stole an 8th order psionic crystal nucleus. Mu Yun, who left the small world, went straight to Ariel's side. It was getting late, and several people set up barbecue grills to prepare for dinner tonight. Dome has never eaten cumin flavored roasted rabbit meat and is curious. Ariel handed the roasted rabbit leg to the Dome, and the fragrant smell made her drool. Dome, try your sister's cooking skills, Ariel said with a smile. After taking a bite, Kyung immediately showed a surprised expression. Good time seeing the surprised expression on Kyung's face. Ariel and Mu Yun looked at each other and smiled. The Dome sitting on the wooden pier swayed the pair of white and slender little feet, and the wings behind it danced lightly. Dome, have you ever seen the little white rabbit? Mu Yun touched Kyung's head and asked with a smile. Dome blinked and nodded. Of course, the little white rabbit is very cute. Indeed, it's delicious. When Kyung heard this, he tilted his head and looked at Mu Yun as if he understood something. Looking at the fragrant barbecue on her hand, a thought came to her mind. This is. Kyung pointed at Mu Yun and then to the roast meat in his hand. Mu Yun smiled at the corner of his mouth and nodded. HMM. With a wow, Dome cried on the spot. Bunny is so cute. Why eat bunny? HMM while crying. He also gnawed on the rabbit leg, looking very cute. Babble? Rabbit? Yuan Bao was holding a spirit spar, and the child's head was full of question marks. She didn't understand why her sister cried, crying and laughing. The human world is really confusing. After dinner, the 4 of them rubbed their slightly bulging little belly and lay on their backs on the grass. It's like a family of 4 on an outing, enjoying the evening breeze. Unfortunately, the sky is shrouded in strange substances ejected from volcanoes, and the vast starry sky in the universe cannot be seen clearly, which lacks beauty. The things that Ariel experienced in the past 2 days were even more exciting than what she had in her whole life combined, and she was already exhausted mentally and went straight to sleep after relaxing. Feeling the breath coming from beside him, Dome quietly raised her eyes to look at Ariel. At this moment, Ariel snuggled into her brother's arms, with a faint smile on the corner of her mouth, quiet and comfortable. Kyung also got into Mu Yun's other side of the embrace, stretched out his small arm, and wrapped his little arm around Mu Yun's waist. Mu Yun lowered his head, and looked at the 2 in his arms, with a gentle arc at the corner of his mouth. Babble? The curious Yuan Bao also wanted to pounce, but was stopped by Mu Yun. You don't have to sleep. Come and make some fun. Obediently go to the vigil. Call me if something happens. HMPH. Yikes. Yuan Bao puffed out his cheeks and glared at Mu Yun resentfully. In the end, Yuan Bao could only pout his small mouth in dissatisfaction and crawl away slowly. Late at night, the cool breeze blows, dissipating the heat of the hot summer. Mu Yun, who had not closed his eyes for a long time, slowly closed his eyes, and the sound of steady breathing was particularly clear in the silent forest. The next day, the morning sun rose. When the morning light fell on Muyun and the others, Araya woke up slowly. As soon as I opened my eyes, I was greeted by a handsome face, with my eyes closed, breathing evenly. Her pretty face blushed slightly, and she quickly rolled over. Muyun opened his eyes, and showed a charming smile to Araya. "Good morning." "Ah, early," Araya replied in a panic. Dome was woken up by the movement of the two, rubbing her sleepy eyes, and looking at Araya. "Sister early, brother early, well, early." Araya bent down, and pinched her round face affectionately. After eating breakfast casually, the group set off, and flew in the direction of Huajiuo. Passing by the coastline of the United States, Muyun found that the sea tide extended hundreds of kilometers inland. This made Muyun worried, and his speed couldn't help but speed up a little. To fly from the United States to China, you need to cross the Pacific Ocean. With Muyun's current speed, he can arrive in 2 days at most, provided that there are no accidents. But obviously, under normal circumstances, accidents still happen. Not long after flying, Muyun found a huge storm on the distant sea level. "Matt, it's really haunted. Didn't the Tsar get these two guys with such great power?" Looking at the huge storm in the distance that covered the sky and was thousands of feet high, Muyun secretly cursed. In order to avoid entanglement with Poseidon, Muyun turned around and prepared to detour. From the United States, the detour is increased, then to the White Bear Country, passing through Sichuan, and then returning to Jiangzhou. Although the journey is 3 or 4 days slower than across the Pacific, it is better than safety. If you accidentally bring Poseidon and Snake G back to the Dragon Court, then you will be in big trouble. After inquiring about the current situation of Jiangming base, he did not encounter any problems for the time being, and Muyun's hanging heart also relaxed. Go back later. You can still find the traces of sacred trees and veins on the way. No loss. Speaking of which, how did Snake G and Poseidon find the United States? Could it be that some kind of mark was planted on my body? After thinking for a long time, Muyun sighed helplessly. It seems that I can't go back so early. I have to make sure that the two of them can't find me. Then go to Kinyu's house first and sit down. Lure the Tussi emperors to the waters of the United States. How to say that it is also a great achievement. The point of reward is not too much. Soon, the figures of Muyun and his group disappeared near the coastline. Chapter 273. With the eruption of the Neon Country volcano, the originally steep climbing high temperature slowed down. This is a great thing for everyone. Except for the gray sky that turned gray and foggy day and night, the whole world got a breather, or even an opportunity. Jiangzhou B City. The city, which was originally cleaned up, has now become a foothold for a large number of survivors. A large number of far-sighted forces in the interior poured into the cities. Not only Jiangzhou, as long as it is a coastal city in China, it is basically such a scene. It is nothing more than that the geographical environment of City B is more superior, and the corpse tide in the city has been cleaned up, and it is safer to stay here, resulting in a large flow of people. More than 10 days have passed since Muyun left, and the time has reached September 15th, and the extremely hot natural disaster has reached its peak. Even though the extreme heat was suppressed, the temperature outside still reached a high temperature of 50 degrees. Ordinary people will feel skin tingling and dizziness when they go out and walk 2 steps. But even such bad weather, it still can't resist the enthusiasm of the supernatural for crystal nuclei. When the tide came, a large army of fishmen charged inland. But without the cover of the sea, the army of fishmen became fish meat to be slaughtered. I don't know who uploaded a video, which caused countless supernatural beings to flock to it. As the saying goes, Lang Gao Shoal is played by shrimp, and the supernatural who sends out the video guides the fishman ashore by luring it. After landing on the shore, the strength of the fishman has been greatly reduced, and the army of fishmen is one by numbers, and the level is lower than that of mutant beasts and green slaves, and occasionally a few 6th order elite monsters will appear. Using this method, that person hunted a large number of fish people, and although the crystal nucleus level obtained was generally about 2 orders, the victory was in the huge number. Once this video was uploaded, it caused a sensation in all parties. Many saw that it was profitable and followed suit. The sea tide, which was originally avoided, has become a sweet potato for the superpowers. As long as the distance from the coastline is controlled, it is almost the same as collecting money. It is not uncommon for some unlucky eggs to encounter high-level monsters and be annihilated. But now is the end times, where there will be things without risk. Gradually, the forces that smelled the fishy smell gathered in the coastal cities and began to go to the sea to find gold. Jiangzhou B City, which is closest to the coastline of the magic capital, is on the cusp of the storm. At this moment, City B is crowded, and everyone wants to get a piece of the pie. Quick, fast, squeeze further. What are you doing pushing Laotzu? Get out of here. This is my place. Grass mud horse. You dare to hit me? Believe it or not, I'm killing you. The coastline, 50 kilometers from City B, is a mess and all kinds of corals. With the rising tide of the sea, the magic capital has been completely submerged, and the coastline is close to Jiangzhou. In this regard, the high level of the Langting base did not panic at all. According to Jiang Ming's calculations, the extreme heat will pass immediately, and the speed of the spread of the coastline will be suspended, and it is almost impossible to affect the Langting base. Even if it is affected, with the current strength in the base, it is not impossible to touch it. The emergence of a large number of survivors has made the economic development in the base extremely rapid. Mu Yun's previous cultivation of water system powers began to exert an extremely terrifying ability to accumulate wealth. The weather is too hot. This heat will sweat. When you sweat, you will lack water. When you lack water, hey, the Dragon Court base has it. Base trading floor. Line groove. 1 point is only 100 milliliters. Laotzu is gone in one mouthful. What water? Especially so expensive. Could it be the juice squeezed by a woman? There's no reason why it's so expensive. Hey, if you can't afford it, get out. Don't delay Laotzu to buy water. Poor. I wipe it. Who to look down on? Laotzu just finished going to the sea and fished 2000 points. Beauty. Bring me 100 points of pure water. Laotzu looks down on the face of an upstart like you. Beauty. Give me 200 points. I 300. In the trading floor, all kinds of scolding were endless. Most of the crystal nuclei earned by the survivor team that went to the sea to find gold were donated to the Dragon Court to buy a lot of drinking water. Of course, Feng Lao's business is even more hot and even in short supply. Helplessly, Sister Lan had to open another branch and directly named it Heaven and Earth. In the office, Sister Lan looked at the various documents sent by her subordinates, and her beautiful eyes wrinkled. City Lord, when will you be able to come back? Sister Lan sighed in her heart. The huge base. Now she is the only one who really makes the decision. Niu Dazliang's 5 troops joined the ranks of fishing for gold in the sea, and Zhongli and the others hunted enough crystal nuclei to start a breakthrough again. Shen Liang and Zhao Yi are also busy maintaining order in the city. All kinds of trivial matters were pressed on Sister Lan alone, and she had not closed her eyes for 3 days. The only idle person in the base is Wang K's stupid dog, and even Big Eye was pulled by Jiang Ming to help build the new city. Knock knock, a knock sounded on the door. Come in. The door opens, and a young girl in a professional suit walks in. This girl looks beautiful and has a beautiful figure. Especially the pair of plump on the chest is about to come out, which makes people's eyes hungry. This woman's name is Wang Xiaoqian, and she is a director of a certain group in Modu. Graduated from Cambridge Business School with rich experience in financial management, she and her family fled to the Dragon Court after the fall of the magic capital. Through his excellent business acumen, he was selected by Sister Lan to be responsible for managing the work of the commercial street in Area C. Xiaoqian, is something wrong? Looking at Wang Xiaoqian standing at the door, Sister Lan asked. City Lord, today's income situation has been summarized. Please take a look. Wang Xiaoqian respectfully handed over a document. Well, put it on the table. Taking the document and flipping through it, Sister Lan nodded slightly. Compared with yesterday, it is up 20%. Yes, the daily income has reached 17 million. Hard work. Sister Lan smiled with satisfaction. This is all I should do, as long as the city lord is satisfied. Hearing Sister Lan's praise, Wang Xiaoqian was flattered and waved her hand again and again. Well, is there anything else? City Lord, it's like this. Wang Xiaoqian paused and continued. People from other forces came to buy pure water today. Huh? Isn't that normal? Just sell it to them. We still have plenty of water. But they are people from Sea City next door, and the leader is called White Bear, and it is the son of the White family. Chapter 274. Beijia. All cities in Jiangzhou have dark lines of the Dragon Court, and they also have detailed information about this Beige Island sister. The base originally set up by the military in City C suddenly broke out in civil unrest for some reason. The army of the 9th district clashed fiercely with the Sea City official and several large forces, and both sides were eventually killed. In the end, only the old Bei family survived. To say that this turmoil has nothing to do with the Bei family, presumably a fool will not believe it. Now that the White Bear actually ran to Jiangzhou to buy pure water, Sister Lan suddenly raised her vigilance in her heart. After a long pause, Sister Lan finally nodded. If the other party guarantees that it is for their own use, it doesn't hurt to trade. Hearing this, Wang Xiaoqian breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. Understood, City Lord. With that, she turned away and continued to work with her work. When only Sister Lan was left in the room, a dark shadow suddenly came out from the corner. Do you need me to make a move? Sequence 2, wrapped in black, slowly spoke. Send someone to stare. Now is an important stage of the base's vigorous development. Don't act rashly for the time being. I don't want to waste time on this kind of thing. Hearing Sister Lan's order, Sequence 2 did not speak and disappeared straight into the room. Compared with Sequence 1, Sequence 2 is ruthless in doing things, and there is no bottom line for achieving the goal. Sister Lan likes such people, and it is very convenient to stay around to deal with some unsavory things. Now that the base is in the process of employing people, it is not sent to other cities like others. After Sequence 2 left, the office door knocked again. People from various departments came to report the work endlessly, and Sister Lan, who just wanted to squint for a while, had no choice but to continue to deal with these trivial matters. At this time, in the VIP private room on the 3rd floor of the trading floor, a personable White Bear in an expensive suit and gold-rimmed glasses was talking to a young woman about something. Manager Wang, our Bei family came with sincerity. Can your price be lower? Sorry Mr. Bei, this is the specification set by the City Lord. There is no way to change it. Wang Xiaoqian shook her head slightly and refused, and Mr. Bei must guarantee that the pure water you purchased cannot be used for commercial purposes, and if it is resold at a high price, the consequences will be very serious. Manager Wang said and laughed. How could I do that kind of thing? Since that's the case, let's trade at this price. The White Bear's face froze, and then he got up to leave. After he left, Wang Xiaoqian breathed a sigh of relief. This time it was a big order, and she didn't dare to be careless. Soon, after White Bear delivered the crystal nucleus, the 50 tons of pure water he had purchased was ready. 10 small and medium-sized fire trucks have been parked above the square, filled with pure water. According to the normal ratio, converted into points, it is 500,000 points, which is enough to cultivate 5/6 order powers. For the current Dragon Court, it is nothing, but for ordinary forces, it is a huge amount of money. The Bei family purchased 500 tons of pure water this time, but the means of transportation did not bring enough, so they could only be transported in batches. Longting is only responsible for selling, and how to transport it has nothing to do with Longting. Even if it is robbed on the road, it is the Bei family's own problem. 5 million points, for the Bei family who covered the sky with one hand in City C. It is still consumed. But the crystal nuclei of the white flower are also squandered, and they have an immature idea. This transportation work can be said to be elite, and it can be seen from the Bei family and son personally leading the team to see that the Bei family attaches importance to this batch of goods. The White Bear rode the space off-road to open the way ahead, and the long convoy slowly drove out towards the outside of the base. A large number of Bei family guards are guarded around to ensure safety. Inside the off-road vehicle led by the leader, the driver looks at the road ahead without squinting. There are more people in the city, and they walk out of a road, and the car has been able to drive normally on the main road. The white bear sat in the back seat, and next to him sat a young girl. She wore a short skirt, revealing her slender white legs, and a delicate melon seed face with light macup painted on it, which made people feel very pleasing to the eye. From the appearance, it is a little similar to Bay's issue. Cousin, do you say that the family's plan can succeed in case it is discovered by the people of the Dragon Court? Then, the girl's delicate voice came, causing the white bear to can't help but stretch out his salty pig hand and touch the other's thigh. Rest assured, everything is under control. It's not really safe to wrestle pure water in City C, but other inland states don't have as many scruples. Longting's hand doesn't reach that long. The white bear snorted coldly, and his tone revealed a rich confidence. Hearing this, Baylion's heart was overjoyed. She also has a share of the crystal nuclei earned by this operation. Water resources in other states are severe, and prices are even more exaggerated than in Jiangzhou. Some areas with severe water shortages even have 3 or 4 times the price difference. The income is enough for Baylion to break through, to become a 5th order powerhouse, and at that time, her status will also rise. The thought of this made her excited. As a side member of the Bay family, she could not be cultivated by the main family, but she still got the qualifications to participate in the operation. It's just some physical labor. It's not uncomfortable, but enjoyable. I don't know where the water source of this Dragon Court base comes from, and it can take out so much water to sell. Thinking of the huge profits, Baylion's heart was full of jealousy. Now the world's water sources are polluted by black rain, and bottled water can only be used instead. This Dragon Court base can come up with so much pure water. There must be a secret channel to obtain water resources. If we can get these water sources, it will be a great achievement for our Bay family. At that time, the family will definitely impress us. Cousin, what do you think? Baylon turned her head to look at the white bear beside her, her eyes flashing with expectation. Well, having said that, the Dragon Court is heavily guarded and strong, and I'm afraid it's a bit troublesome to find out the news. Hearing the white bear's words, Baylon's eyes suddenly lit up. Which adult can we ask for help? With which means, there must be a way. Huh. The white bear's eyes suddenly became cold, and the hand holding the thigh was slightly forced. How did you know that the one existed? He stared closely into Baylion's eyes, as if he wanted to see through the depths of her soul. Yes. I saw it by accident. Being so frightened by him, Baylion suddenly stood up. Have you told anyone else? No. HMPH. Remember, no one is allowed to say anything about it. God knows, you know I know, and my father knows. The white bear snorted coldly and warned. Otherwise. The corners of his mouth hung in a cruel arc, and he pinched Baylion's neck. I will kill you. Baylion suddenly panicked, struggling desperately, and slapped her hands on the white bear's chest. Don't kill me. I don't say. Seeing her appearance, the white bear let go of his hand. The driver of the car sweated coldly on his head. Special Laozi doesn't want to hear it. This is force majeure. The young master won't kill people, right? Can't see me. Chapter 275. Leo Liu. Did you hear anything just now? Just as the driver was thinking about it, the gloomy voice of the white bear suddenly sounded next to his ears. He jerked back to his senses. No, I didn't hear that. Really didn't hear it. I'm older. My ears aren't very good. You have been with my father for many years, and I believe that you are not a mouthy person. Of course. The driver chuckled a few times. The white bear glanced at the driver meaningfully, and he had already made a decision in his heart. It's time to change drivers. The convoy continued to drive, but unbeknownst to it, Sequence 2, hidden in the shadow of the white bear, silently witnessed the whole process. An hour later, in Sister Lan's office, Sequence 2 slowly walked out of the shadows, and fully narrated the Bay family's plan, as well as Baylion's words, to Sister Lan. A good Bay family, come to us to make wool. After listening to the report of Sequence 2, Sister Lan's eyes gradually became sharp. Because the situation of the water system supernatural is the same as in the previous life, the lethality is weak, the strength is low, and the self-preservation ability is poor, and they can only squeeze out a little water every day. As long as the power leader with a little brain, he will not choose to cultivate the water system power, even use them as cannon fodder. This makes it more and more difficult to find the already rare water system powers. Even the base cities under the official jurisdiction are the same, although they do not let the other party be used as cannon fodder, but they will not pour resources into training. This led to the fact that at present, except for the Dragon Court base, there are more than 6th order water system powers, which cannot be found anywhere else. Under a series of chain reactions, the secret of the water system supernatural has not been discovered. The person who broke through the 6th order water system was an out-and-out water dispenser, which could bring 0.5 tons of drinking water to the Lanting base every day. Sister Lan took in water system powerhouses everywhere and cultivated them. At this time, in the Dragon Court base, there were already thousands of 6th order water system powers. The nuclei consumed in this are massive, but the harvest is equally huge. What is the concept of producing 500 tons of water per day, leaving aside the 100 tons used daily at the base? The remaining 400 tons are all revenue. The output is not water, it is 4 million points, which is the number of points required to cultivate 46th order powers. The huge profits can be imagined. The Bay family was aware of such a phenomenon, so they wanted to get some wool from the Dragon Court. As long as they sell it backwards and remove the principal, they will earn not much worse than Longting. It may even earn more than Longting. When Sister Lan learned the news, how could she not be angry? Do you need me to make a move? Sequence 2 asked. First go and investigate who the adult they are talking about is. Don't startle the snake first. Good. After the second sequence left, Sister Lan immediately ordered to double the security forces in Area A in the inner city. The secrets of the water system powerhouse must not be exposed, otherwise the loss in it cannot be estimated. Night. After a day of rushing, the white bear finally returned to Sea City. The white bear sits on the sofa in a bathrobe, next to the half-dressed white lotus. Her figure is very hot, plump and round, and her snowy and slender thighs are particularly attractive. There are many Bay family ties, and there are many beautiful women in the base. The reason why the white bear chose White Lotus, in addition to the beauty of the other party, is that she looks very similar to Bay's issue. Come here. The white bear drank red wine and commanded unquestioningly. Nasty, just came back. Don't let the family rest for a while. Bay Lion geoticked. Behind. It becomes paid content. The person in front of him was obviously Bay Lion, but Bay Zion muttered Bay's issue's name in his mouth. This made Bay Lion secretly hateful, but did not dare to show any emotions. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the entire base city. At the moment, psychic beings who go to the sea to find gold wander the narrow streets. Water sales offices, in particular, are crowded, making the already narrow streets even more crowded. On a hot summer day, the heat swept through. Sweat mixed with pure water scattered all over the street. The ground was covered with a lot of water stains, making the streets wet. The scolding rose one after another, but the situation did not improve, but intensified. The cursing man slipped under his feet, and the carton of milk he was holding in his hand was knocked to the ground. Immediately, he cursed and withdrew from the street. Bay Lion slumped on the sofa, her face flushed. The white bear ignored it, and dressed and went to his father's study. At this time, the lights in the study were dim. A man with half-white hair who looked to be about 50 years old sat at his desk, and flipped through documents. Father. Seeing the man, the white bear barked respectfully. At the desk sat a mysterious black-robed man. Sir, things are done. The white bear bowed and bent over, his attitude more humble. Well, hard work on you. The black-robed man nodded lightly. White Bear described the process of this operation in detail, and then remembered the proposal of Bay Lion on the car before, and proposed it with the idea of giving it a try. Sir, the water source of the Dragon Court base is a mystery. Why don't we? The black-robed man waved his hand, and stopped the white bear. I know what you mean. The Dragon Court is not as simple as you think, and this matter needs to be considered in the long run. When the white bear heard this, his eyebrows furrowed, and finally sighed. He was wise, and didn't say more. You did a good job. The focus of the organization is now on the tide, and when the situation stabilizes, I will apply to the organization to let you go to the baptism ceremony. Master Z, this is all I should do. Since things are going well, let's get here today. Seeing that the man in black was about to leave, the white bear remembered something again and hurriedly asked, "Sir, do you have any news of my sister?" The black-robed man paused and said in a playful tone, "You are very concerned about this matter." "No, nothing, it's just," asked casually, "your sister's traces have been found, but, interestingly, she is now from the Dragon Court." Hearing this, the white bear and the head of the Bay family were stunned. "What? How is this possible? How did my sister become a member of the Dragon Court?" White bear and Bayan asked in unison, their faces full of disbelief. The black-robed man smiled. "This is what I have to ask her. Perhaps this is your opportunity. Take advantage of." Leaving these words, the man in black flicked his robe and walked away. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.